Et bonjour! Bonjour à toutes, bonjour à tous. Comment on se retrouve? Ça fait longtemps. Mais le 11 octobre, et c'est la Citizencon 2025. Et l'oreille, comment ça va? Ah, c'est bien que tu sois là, tu vas pouvoir bêta-tester est-ce que tout va bien au niveau son et tout. Merci, merci pour ton sacrifice. Pour l'instant, il n'y a que mon micro, évidemment. Et toujours très très marrant, c'est que sur mon retour, alors j'avais déjà eu le problème la dernière fois, mais mon dernier stream remonte à 2 mois, c'était pour la Gamescom. Euh, sur mon retour, Twitch ne se lance pas, donc je ne vois pas l'image sur mon retour Twitch. Sur YouTube ça marche très bien, mais sur Twitch j'y ai rien. Donc ce n'est pas tant un retour que juste un chat au final, ce qui est un peu con. Bref. Donc ce soir, CitizenCon, on a quelques minutes avant le démarrage. Euh, J'espère que vous allez bien, moi oui. J'ai pu avancer sur pas mal de projets autour et tout, mais on en reparlera plus tard. Prochain stream, je le donne déjà maintenant, mais ce sera les Game Awards en décembre. Vous avez déjà la date normalement. Vérifie que tu es toujours en... Allô? Ah. Mais c'est un problème propre à juste mon PC portable. En vue modérateur en faisant des paramètres. C'était reset. C'est un PC portable qui a rien à voir. C'est un PC portable à côté et je ne vois pas sur ce PC là le stream. Peut-être que c'est juste Chrome qui est pas à jour ou un truc comme ça. Peut-être que j'ai pas lancé. Là sur ton ordi, tu l'as. J'ai mon retour. En fait, j'ai OBS que j'affiche. Euh, et oui, je pourrais tout à fait tester de lancer un Twitch slash Adraka et de me voir. Voilà, je me vois. Je confirme, donc ça fonctionne bien. C'est vraiment que ce PC là qui a un souci. Bref, là n'est pas la question. Je vais me mettre tout de suite dans la scène parce qu'on est à 2 minutes 30 du démarrage. Je vais broder rapidement avant que ça commence. Je mets la scène. Ils mettent des petites pubs de temps en temps qui ont été fait, des fausses pubs qui ont été créées par la communauté, j'ai vu ça. Mais pour l'instant, rien n'a réellement démarré. Ce qui va nous permettre de mettre le son et de vérifier que tout s'entend. Je pense que c'est pas mal comme ça. Donc la grande conférence annuelle cette année qui n'est pas en présentiel, mais juste un stream de 2 heures en gros, qui va montrer tout ce qui est attendu pour l'année à venir dans le jeu. Sachant qu'on a une grosse année quand même pour 2025 là, où on a eu second système stellaire, les premiers boss, les world boss, des donjons, etc. On a eu pas mal de quêtes, de grosses séries d'événements d'events qui ont eu lieu. À Twitch, c'est toujours aussi pratique ça. Je vais F5 rapidement quand même. Espérons ne pas avoir à F5 pendant la conf, évidemment. J'ai pas le son du truc derrière toi. Ah, merci. En fait, typiquement, c'était pour ça. Un peu rouillé. Et là, maintenant, c'est bon. Et on est juste à l'heure. Donc, il y a eu pas mal de trucs. Moi, qu'est-ce que j'attends? Baisse. DBC. Je pense qu'on va voir du crafting, de la construction de base. Mais je sais qu'il y a beaucoup de gens qui ont vu les, 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 les signes qu'il y aurait l'annonce du troisième système stellaire, Nyx. Pourquoi pas? Moi je suis plutôt à la baisse, même si on a eu beaucoup de contenu cette année. Euh, les très grosses features attendues n'ont pas trop avancé et j'espère pouvoir voir justement la progression de tout ça aujourd'hui. Voilà. On est bien installé, ça va pouvoir commencer. Je sais que Chris, notre patron à tous, est en Suisse pour regarder cet événement-là en direct avec une partie de la commu suisse. Je sais qu'il y a pas mal d'endroits comme ça dans le monde où ils ont fait des gros setups et tout pour regarder ça à plusieurs. C'est bon l'accent? Parfait, mais j'ai monté entre temps. Oups.
It has brought a more populated and active verse with up to 700 players online and in the same space at once. It's greatly increased server performance.
Ouais, les serveurs ont beaucoup changé sur l'année.
I couldn't be prouder of the team.
Pour rappel, l'année dernière, on était à 50 joueurs max par serveur et on est passé à 700.
Games out there that claim large player counts or even the ability to mesh, but none do it at our detail, scale, and seamlessness. Of course, there will be continued improvements to server meshing and to Star Engine, but having moved past this last big technological hurdle has allowed us to finally focus on quality of life and stability improvements, something that has long been overdue.
C'est l'année la plus stable qu'on ait eue jusqu'à présent. Un magicien n'est jamais en retard. Karl qui a eu le temps de... Bien joué. Merci d'être là. Le jeu est plus stable, performant et fun. Et alors, stable, je suis obligé de le dire. Ça fait longtemps qu'il n'y a pas joué. J'y joue de mon côté de temps en temps, mais des petits trucs. Il y a eu des gros events cette année auxquels j'ai participé. Mais c'est à peu près tout. J'ai pas fait de grosses sessions de mon côté en dehors des events. Mais c'est bien parce que du coup il y a un truc qui nous permet de revenir de temps en temps pour voir un peu les progrès le temps que se mettent en place. Il y a un boss qui est sorti dans le jeu hier. Sorte de Harry Potter 2, le basilic. Exactement ça qui est sorti hier dans le jeu. Très très stylé. Allez! Je l'ai dit au début. Ah merde. Moi j'y croyais pas, mais le troisième système stellaire sort le mois prochain. Allez. Hello Néphérite, ça va? Ah, Twitch qui nous fait plaisir. On se croirait au GP.
But in many ways, we're more connected than ever. Across the globe, many of you are gathering at watch parties, 9 of them with our developers in attendance, and countless others springing up in communities everywhere, and all happening simultaneously today. So even if we're separated by oceans and continents,
c'est Claude mon prénom.
For space, for discovery, and for this incredible universe we're building together. Whether you're at home or alongside your crew at a watch party, grab a drink.
Allez, prenez une boisson et préparez-vous à en avoir plein les yeux. Donc c'est ça, on se limite. Aujourd'hui, il se limite au contenu qui va sortir dans l'année à venir. S'il y a des problèmes de son, c'est Twitch, low latency. J'ai eu le même problème pendant le GP. Je sais pas ce qu'ils font en ce moment en Twitch. Ah, ça c'est le nouveau système stellaire. C'est Nyx. La station de Levski. Le son est un peu dégueu, t'inquiète. Je sais pas pourquoi Twitch a fait ça avec le son, mais quand t'es en low latency, t'as vraiment un gros décalage. Troisième système stellaire, pour rappel, l'objectif à la sortie officielle c'est d'en avoir 5. Et le dernier est sorti il y a un an.
The content development of the game is no longer restricted,
Richard Tyler.
allowing us to forge ahead with building out our first 5-star systems. Nyx will see the much-loved Levski landing zone added back to the verse, while also bringing you one of its most iconic
Java.
The Glacium.
J'ai une tasse Java mais je l'ai pas prise aujourd'hui.
You'll experience a new combined arms operation that will introduce new factions and new adventures for you to discover. With this edition of our 3rd star system, we're also going to do something that's at the heart of the entire Star Citizen experience, and that is to build it right in front of you. As we have done this year, with the addition of several major locations, such as the Hathor facility.
J'y ai mangé qu'une seule fois, c'est parce que la première fois les bêta-testeurs ils avaient le droit à une tasse si ils allaient manger des Xbox.
But we feel this gets the content into your hands sooner and shows our intent as we continue our march towards 1.0. I'm so incredibly proud of the work our teams have done, and are continuing
Ah pardon,
to do.
tu l'as aussi, putain.
And we're excited to have
La
you
même
on
la rouge
this
comme ça?
next step
Stylé.
of our journey. And as with any journey in Star Citizen, that begins
J'ai
with
hyper
a
mal
little
lu.
story.
Pas la rouge. Ok. J'avais pas vu d'autres...
In 2025, we introduced two
Attention,
major
c'est un designer, il faut pas croire ce
spanning
qu'il dit.
multiple patches, creating a living backbone for adventure across the universe. The first was Pyro Must Burn. It connected Stanton to Pyro and introduced the Frontier Fighters, who are relentless, brutal, and determined to wipe
Ouais,
out any
on parle des
threats
gangs sur
across them.
Pyro, qu'on a affronté
And
toute
with
l'année.
this month's release, you'll now take part in the conclusion to that storyline. The second was
Ah, la
centered
fin
on
des
Earth,
affrontements, ok.
with the regen crisis throwing the Empire into chaos, and you all jumping in to help the various corporations respond. Through that journey, we pulled back the curtain on ASD and its shady practices, uncovering
Ça, c'est le
long
nouveau boss
forgotten
qui est
Onyx
sorti dans le jeu hier.
facilities, and met new characters like Dr. Logan Yorit and Detective Arkham Meller of the Hokro
Et on
Agency.
peut peut-être le montrer d'ailleurs ce soir,
Just
vu que
the Pyro
pas
Must Burn
tout le monde
storyline
l'a vu.
carried us into a new system. Science Run Amok is now setting the stage for Nyx, the next step in the larger story we're telling on the road to 1.0. As this new chapter of Star Citizen begins, let's hear from just a few of the team members working to bring this next era of our universe to life.
Aïe aïe aïe. Framerate.
When the Nyx system was first discovered,
Petite
the
thérapie.
United Empire of Earth, the UE,
C'est le médic.
came
C'est
out
nouveau.
and did scans and kind of found out that the system wasn't really worth settling. The planets were too hard to terraform, the resources were too tough to get, so they opened it up. And one company saw opportunity where the UE didn't, QV Planet Services.
Le lore du
And
nouveau
so
système.
they expanded into the system and tried to mine as much as they could, making a very slim margin by the sheer quantity of resources
Comme
they
d'hab,
were pulling
il y a un
out.
endroit inhabité. Est-ce qu'on peut s'en faire des thunes à volonté? Oui. Ok, on y habite. Facile.
Sort of ran its course from sort of a large corporate interest perspective, and then was mostly left abandoned.
Now, this ended up being the ideal situation for the People's Alliance, who were a group of revolutionaries who were trying to overthrow the dictatorship of the Messer regime that was going on in the Empire at the time.
So they
Ah oui,
went
c'est des
to
hippies
the
en même
Nyx
temps.
system and established what became known as Levski. They wanted to make it everything that the UEE wasn't at this time.
They set up what they saw as their ideal society, where everyone's voices would be heard, where everyone would be equal. But they've fallen onto hard times. So Nyx today is kind of at an interesting point in its history. Now that the UEE has kind of transformed itself into a democratic society, what is
Tu
the
peux stream du BF6 si
well,
j'ai rien.
what are the
En vrai, je
People's
pourrais, oui.
Alliance rebelling against? And they still see the Empire as being inherently unfair. They see their role as still trying to create a free and fair society. But on the other hand, they have more problems than ever, and there's new threats lurking
une bonne
around
idée, en
every
vrai.
corner. And they have to ask, are they prepared to handle that? Or do they need to turn to the UEE for help?
C'est un système qui a essayé de gagner son indépendance en mode si on se fait suffisamment de thunes en minant tout ce qui est dans la région, peut-être qu'on peut être indépendant.
You approach it from
Et
kind
ça
of
s'est mal
two
passé.
angles in a weird way. What is this system bringing to the gallery? How does this new system plug into it, and what does it bring to the table from a sort of a flavor experience? We want to make sure that whatever it's bringing to the company is unique and has some flair to it.
So the Nyx system is a remote system.
Petit
where
carac.
people want to go and live free outside of the pressure and influence of the UEE. It's a remote and rugged system with a lot of hostility coming from the ever-present threat of Vandal.
Ils vont mettre son titre à chaque fois.
Frontier-esque thing. It's not lawless like Pyro, it's just kind of out there. Pyro's more like a Mad Max wasteland, and Nyx is more like Silverado or like Deadwood, right? It's kind of like a smaller scope.
The emptiness and the loneliness is the defining factor. You're still going to find gangs, you're still going to find hostile presences, but it's where people go if they want to live off the grid.
The People's Alliance is the main peacekeeping force in Nyx.
They were unhappy with the direction that the Empire was going under the Messers. They got out. They said, we're just going to start from scratch, build our own society, but build it the way that we think it needs to be built.
They're not perfect. They're just people, but they're doing their best. They want to help keep Nyx safe and make it prosper.
They are trying to do the best
De
they
mémoire,
can.
c'est un système stellaire où il n'y a que 3 planètes, en plus de la ceinture d'astéroïdes où se trouve donc la capitale entre guillemets qui est Levski.
Stanton Star is quite neutral, and the Nyx is a little bit cooler.
Le système qui est bleu, c'est stylé en vrai.
The system has its star, and it has this dark, really dense gas, sort of nebulous cloud, and it has points of light scattered around it, and those points of light in this gas cloud is.
Tu pourrais mettre les sous-titres pour les non anglophones, mais je suis pas sûr que sur Twitch ça marche bien. En vrai.
So because Nyx is bordering Vandal space, it was important that we have a gap in the Nyx gas cloud where you could sort of just, in between the clouds, see
Pas mal, non?
a piece of the Vandal space. It feels so close that it's even
Not available for this content.
some red light. The level designers
C'est des
are
sous-titres
using
par
it
IA,
as an
et
actual
l'IA est en
visual
vacances aujourd'hui
indicator
apparemment.
of where to place more dangerous POIs. So if you point your ship in the direction of it, you should find, as we build it out, that you will be in more and more danger. And I think that's really cool. To give more atmosphere, I was testing out adding some sort of space snowflakes, essentially. So when you look towards
Là, c'est des designers qui parlent, donc de toute façon, ils sont là juste pour dire oui, alors j'ai peint ce coin du tableau en rouge parce que j'ai trouvé ça que c'était plus stylé. Pas forcément le truc le plus intéressant pour l'instant, mais.
For the jump points in Nyx, we'll have 2 on this release. We'll have 1 from Pyre to Nyx and 1 from Stanton to Nyx. It should be going from Nyx to
Ah, on peut y
Castra,
accéder
but we're
depuis les deux
essentially
autres systèmes?
bypassing Castra temporarily.
Hey, we want to make sure you can get there any way you want.
Parce que de mémoire, sur la map, c'est accessible que depuis le système PVP. Alors que les devs ils promettent la lune, mais elle est buggée. C'est plus proche de ça, oui. Exactement. Non, en vrai, les designers ont tendance à vachement aussi dire oh, on a fait ça et ça pourrait un jour, oh ça pourrait devenir, et donc à montrer la lune aussi vachement. Alors que les devs ils ont plus tendance quand même à dire on a mis cette feature et on a fait ça. Le Drake Golem, il est si moche ce vaisseau.
Sort of like icy look, rocky, cliff-like, very different from those in the Pyro and the Stanton.
One of the big differences too is all of
Les
that
astéroïdes ont
extra
l'air
added movement
énormes dans le
that just
système.
adds a little bit of extra flair.
It's also a good hiding spot for people who are trying to elude capture.
Ah putain, il y a des bases sur des trucs comme ça, ok.
Always feel way more interesting flying in those spaces than just, you know, through empty void.
Ouais, ça va être des nids à pirates encore, ça va être assez marrant. Ah, ça c'est la capitale du coup. Qui est construite dans la cité, c'est une cité dans les nuages d'astéroïdes.
Levski is our first and biggest social outpost for Nyx.
It's kind of like the place where you stop before you do your panning. So it's kind of a San Francisco before you go out to the gold rush.
It's going to be the central hub for
ouais, théoriquement, de toute façon, c'est le seul endroit à peu près civilisé de tout le système. Pour réappro et tout, c'est peut-être mieux de s'y rendre. Ils font du teasing, hein, parce qu'on sait très bien à quoi ça ressemble. Ils veulent pas le montrer.
When you fly towards the Levski, you see this huge gas ring around it, scattered small, mid-sized pieces of the asteroids.
Well, Levski's immediately apparently unique by the fact that it's a facility clamped onto the side of an asteroid. The breathtaking views of
Et
looking into
tu n'es
the
pas obligé de le dire,
belts
on le voit très
instantly
bien.
a unique charm and
Le
flavor.
format est un peu bizarre cette année en vrai. What the
So
fuck.
as you approach,
Ah voilà.
you'll initially see a very dramatic borehole that goes all the way through the asteroid.
Et on
You'll
se rend pas
also
compte la
see
taille que ça fait, hein.
growing
C'est
out
vraiment
from
gigantesque.
there and alongside Levski, there will be landing pads along what I'd call the spine. Lots of industrial pipes and transport systems to bring out the refined mining materials when it was a mining
what the fuck.
station.
Before we were using an actual planet, so we had all of the space available to place all of these structures. But now it kind of meant that we had to create an asteroid which has the appropriate size to.
If we took the whole shot of the asteroid, you will see that there is an area to fly underneath. We plan on bringing in whole sea gameplay. So
Ah oui,
this
c'est
is the
pour le
exterior
déploiement de cargo.
elevators. So as a team, you will be able to load and unload cargo.
There's a lot more movement on the exterior, such as the cargo trains going around tracks. It's now going to be fully EVA-able. There will be walkways around the main landing zone to walk on using gravity plates, but you can drift off and kind of go wherever you want.
Ah ça c'est marrant ça en vrai.
They can explore fully the whole
Vraiment te
place,
déplacer comme
which
tu
is
veux
great.
partout. Un peu comme dans les stations actuelles. Même s'ils ont tendance à plus fermer les stations avec des hangars plutôt qu'avec des pads à l'extérieur à chaque
There are
fois.
people here in Nyx that care. It's not a downtrodden or derelict, dilapidated location. It has a sense of order.
But only where the People's Alliance has people living.
But we've had Levski before, and we've
Oui,
updated it
il y avait
quite
une
substantially
version
to be
initiale de Levski dans le jeu il y a
in line with the newer
presque
features
10 ans.
that have been put in since.
Il avait retiré
But
pour
also
l'amener
visually,
à
there's
un
been a
bon
lot of
standard de
quality of
qualité
life
qu'il voulait
fixes that
atteindre.
we've wanted to add and bring up to like a
C'était
good
vraiment en
standard
alpha
for
à
landing
l'époque
zone.
sur une
Facing
map
the main
minuscule.
lobby of Levski is a large statue of Anthony Tanaka, who was a child worker.
And was being worked to death.
Ah, ça c'est
all of
l'intérieur de la
them were,
station.
And Anthony Tanaka just had a break and just said no, and stood up against the foremen, the supervisors, the managers, the guards. And
Putain mais le lore
was
drop
killed
c'est
for it.
insupportable aussi. Hein.
And so he became a sort of a figurehead.
And kind of was one of the linchpin moments in seeing the fall
J'ai le
of
siège
the
qui...
Messer regime.
J'ai les roues de mon siège qui sont un peu bloquées.
So if you take the elevator up to the top deck, you'll see the top view and the cargo area as well. So you can go through the cargo shop. You've got your normal kind of cargo
Avec
needs.
le market et tout.
You'll have ability to trade and buy your tractor beam and other gear that you need. So if you were to die in the Nyx system, then one of the places you might come out from is the hospital in Levski, which is called the Mercy Hospital.
So Mercy Hospital is just
L'endroit qu'on va le
basically
plus visiter dans le jeu,
you know,
vu le
local
nombre de fois où on va
station
crever
for
dans ce
all
putain de
the-
système.
the residents of Levski,
Le nombre de fois on va
anybody
respawn à cet
traveling
endroit-là.
through the system, and they're trying to
Allez.
provide as good medical help for people as they can.
When you arrive at the HAB's location, you'll be presented with a lobby, elevator bank, and then you will take that transit to the HAB room. So within that room will be pods.
And that's where the original miners would have lived.
Aussi petit qu'à l'époque,
They're
les
not the
petites chambres. Hein.
nicest, and they're a bit messy, but they're a home for people in Levski. If you head down to the lower view deck, you'll go through into the Grand Barter, which is your main social and commercial area of Levski.
This is where you will see market sellers selling their wares. There will be stalls, there will be kind of more embedded shops.
And that includes things like corderies, which is your armor shop, and also conscientious objects, which is for weapons. There's also one of my favorite places, Cafe Musée, which is where you can go down into some of the more rocky depths and grab yourself a drink, and you never know who you meet down there. If you explore a bit more around
C'est
the ground
probablement
mounts
là
of
qu'il
the
va y avoir
starter,
la
you
prochaine
surround
questline qui va
the
commencer
side passages.
à partir de
There's
cet
another
endroit-là.
shop that's away from that area called Teachers.
Teach a Ship Shop is basically where you would go if you were looking to pick up a used ship, buy some ship parts, fix up your old ship, find some new stuff, sell some scrap.
We've closed up Dumpers Depot for Levski, and everything that used to be sold there will now be sold at Teachers. Another new area, as well as the cargo shop that we've added, is the refinery deck for Levski. That's where you can take your processed goods, not just from Levski, but from the rest of the Nix system, and refine and
Il
sell
s'agit
those
comme
goods
les
there.
grandes stations à Stanton.
As a lot of the
Il y a
content
vraiment
in
tout le
Next
truc de
Coming
cargo,
Releases
tout le truc de
for Nix
raffinerie.
is going to be mining related. So it's super important that Levski is a really nice hub for mining type of gameplay.
Surtout pour les joueurs non PVP.
So we're really happy to bring Levski back into the game. It's been gone for quite a few years now.
I think it really provided
Oui, la
a
taille du
unique
bordel quoi, avec le vaisseau
environment
capital qui passe au
of
milieu
it's
au score.
run down, but the people who live there love it and are working their hardest to make it a great place to live.
This is a location that has a lot of nostalgia for you guys, and we don't want this just to be a re-release. We do want you to go, wow.
It's not going to be as complete as Pyro was when it first came out, but it's going to be our first iteration, and you're going to be able to see it grow as we work on it.
Like with everything, we're always learning and improving and finding new ways.
I mean, is there anything more Star Citizen than just building the system while the players watch us build it around
Et
them?
putain, il est
Add a
insupportable.
nice dynamic to Stanton and be a much more calming of,
On
you
va,
know,
on le va mettre dans le jeu
style
non
system
fini,
of Pyro.
et comme ça vous pourrez nous le voir le finir en temps réel. Ouais, c'est très Star
They're
Citizen dans
gonna
l'idée,
love
on est
to
bien
see this
d'accord.
come back. And the people
Aïe, aïe,
that
aïe.
haven't seen it before, it's going to be a great new location.
This is the first time that I'm going to be able to touch stuff and kind of bring my own content to the game, and that's really exciting to me.
Levski coming back into the game is a huge milestone personally for me. So I worked on the original quite some time ago, so seeing it come back and updated and improved and better is fantastic.
Ok, donc le système sort dans un mois. Qu'est-ce qu'ils
So
vont
we've
nous
talked
annoncer
about
d'autre?
Levski, we've talked about the Glacian Belt, but you're probably asking yourself, what's the new gameplay activity we're going to be doing? So let's
Ah,
find
qu'est-ce
out.
qu'on fait là FK?
Welcome
Merci.
to Nix is your first experience in a new space station in a new solar system.
It's a mystery to be solved. There's things for the player to explore and look into. There's going to be some twists and turns, of course, some combat, and if you're lucky enough to survive, maybe some good rewards.
This is basically a continuation of kind of our ASD storyline. So in the closing out what we had called our Science Run Amok storyline, we had revealed
Ça, c'est le
that
contenu qu'on a fait
ASD
cette
had been
année.
procuring sort of very black market illegal stuff in order to conduct their experiments. So
Spoilers.
this mission is basically going to be continuing on that trail.
So the Navy has learned that illegal tech is being sold in the UAE, and they're hiring Intersect to investigate. Intersect Defense Solutions is the leading military defense contractor in the UAE. So the Navy contracts with them a lot for doing various kind of military operations that they don't want to handle themselves. We didn't want players to be working directly for the Navy. The Navy just doesn't call up random citizens and ask like, hey, if you're free, can you fly a helicopter? I guess as a player, when you can think about like, oh, where am I going to be doing missions that are capital ship battles or large fleet scale stuff or
Du coup, il y a des fights de gang, mais il y a aussi, parce que de mémoire sur ce système-là, il y a des raids aliens qui ont lieu. Donc il va falloir probablement les repousser régulièrement pour les empêcher de prendre le système.
So they want the players to figure out what's going on.
So when you come out of Quantum and you start your approach vector to the objective, you'll be weaving through asteroids, going through the Glacian Belt, and slowly the station will reveal itself. Now this is an old QV logistics station. It's pretty beat up, it's pretty derelict, but there's some points of interest that you'll spot as you go through. So the station itself shares design cues from old Pan Am stations.
Ça c'est pour le prochain
found in
event
Pyro.
dont il parle.
This architectural design found its way over to the Nix system as the system was being established. But you'll also see some additional design cues that QV planetary services were adding, so it's a nice transition architectural point. It's fairly skeletal in design. You'll see logistics yards and cargo yards, but also facilities pinned inside the asteroid, creating this network of facilities. You'll notice there's a Polaris near the main hub. It's not a normal Polaris. It's damaged, it's broken. It's not a standard corporate Polaris. So at this point, you should be asking yourself, who does this belong to? Away from the Polaris, you'll see struts leading to asteroid bases. Now these asteroid bases are locked, so you don't know exactly what's inside just yet. But all of this comes together to form the playground for the mission to take place. So not
Salut détecteur de faux gameplay, oui c'est moi, comment ça va?
But it's also under attack from a
Mon radar est bien allumé, je te confirme. Ça va bien, ça va bien. J'attendais ce live depuis un an. Oula. Ah ça y est, les fameux Red Vandal. Nous y voilà. Ça on va en fight je pense. On va en fight tellement. C'est le nouveau... Merde, c'est le... Comment il s'appelle celui-là? Parce qu'il y a le Blade et le Glaive, mais celui-là c'est le vaisseau, le chasseur lourd. On est d'accord qu'ils vont le vendre instantanément sur le shop. Ah voilà, il parle des raids Vandal. Du coup, ça va pas être aussi pacifique que ce qu'on pourrait croire. Glaive Blade, voilà. Le Stinger, ok. Il est très très stylé, hein.
You will be contacted by some civilians on arrival asking you for help.
So at this point, you have a choice. You can either bug out, mission over, or join the fight. This will be the first time
le framerate des extraits au score.
This fight will be intense. The player should be able to deal with them, but they will have to be prepared and they'll have to come back in to fight off this initial wave, and that won't be the end of it.
Et où est-ce que tu tiens?
After you fight off the Vandal ships, the mysterious inhabitants of the station invite you to come on board.
Which INSEC sort of will encourage you to do because
tiens, Elliot.
Investigation against what's happening here, why these QV stations have come back online.
You dock your ship, you board the station, and it turns out the inhabitants here have a real surprise for you.
The player will be immediately ambushed. These guys are not your friends.
Je vois pas pourquoi ils veulent donner autant de détails sur les events au lieu de nous laisser les découvrir, mais c'est pas grave.
Will be challenging, but this definitely will be the warm-up phase of this mission. This will be the players getting a sense of what exactly is going on there, who these new people are. They'll be in unfamiliar armor. They will be wielding unfamiliar weapons. And we want you to get a sense that you are in a new place, in a new territory, fighting a new faction.
Toutes les armes électriques qui ont été rajoutées cette année. J'ai pas eu le temps de les tester encore, ces armes-là. Ça dure combien de temps? Ça dure 2 heures à peu près. C'est beaucoup plus court que les autres années parce que c'est pas en présentiel, c'est pas des petites conférences, c'est vraiment uniquement le contenu de l'année qui arrive.
Along the way, you're going to get to explore some new areas.
It's not just the space station. There's the disabled capital ship. There's asteroid bases nearby with obvious installations there, other forces that the Vandal have been attacking. There's a debris field.
Explore the locations in any order you want and try to find out who these people are and why the Vandal are after them.
You'll find new clues, you'll find ways to solve the puzzle of what's going on at the space station, and find out what kind of loot they have for you now that you've beat them.
And of course, this is a legally open station, so anything you find is yours to keep and sell, maybe even give to Wicklow.
Ah, ce petit hint.
This isn't just a one-time event. This is a permanent sort of
C'était
mission.
vraiment l'année de l'économie pour SC. Alors,
You can go back
comment ça?
and repeat this mission and find ways to do it even better.
Après, ils ont fait pas mal
faster.
d'events et tout.
There'll be a different story,
De l'économie dans quel
different
sens?
flavor. Obviously, we can't have the same thing happen every time. There'll be other missions that Intersect will offer to you based on the evidence that you found.
Now you know the real story, and you can start digging and giving more information to Intersect along the way.
J'imagine qu'ils vont rajouter... Ah, peut-être que c'est Wicklow qui va vendre les vaisseaux Vandoul dans le jeu. Ce serait pas déconnant. Pas de présentiel, année d'activité. Ouais, c'est vrai que c'était à ce niveau-là, mais après il y a eu quand même, des trucs clairement. Et par contre, côté stabilité, ils ont fait des trucs, mais moi je m'attendais vraiment à plus en vrai en termes de quality of life et tout. En vrai, j'abuse, il y a des vrais zones que j'ai pas fait. Après, c'est un problème des events en vrai, et ça, moi je suis un petit peu contre, c'est faire des events sur un jeu en alpha. Je trouve ça un peu bizarre. En même temps, ça leur permet d'avoir de gens qui viennent et qui reviennent. Par contre, je suis 100% pour, c'est toutes les missions, typiquement en ce moment là, toute la questline autour de ASD, etc. Même les joueurs qui vont arriver après, ils vont pouvoir découvrir au fur et à mesure dans le jeu. Ça c'est vraiment stylé par contre. D'avoir vraiment des questlines intégrées dans le jeu quoi.
Hello everyone.
Ah ça y est, on est en live, et évidemment, comme d'hab, Jared est 15 fois trop fort en termes de son.
As the dozens of such events happening at locations around the world, we've gathered today to watch this sneak peek at just a little of what the next year of Star Citizen has in store for everyone.
Putain.
Oh, that was really good, everybody. I'm Jared Huckabee, your host for the festivities.
Jared.
Today, and let me tell you, it's not a joke, it's not a gag. Next week, we're hitting our 9th patch in 10 months, and then in November, we're going to finish out the year strong with the long-awaited arrival of the Nix system.
C'est vrai que par contre en termes de rythme ils ont bien accéléré cette année parce que un patch par mois c'est plutôt fort.
But an independent system with its own set of rules and laws and multiple ways to get there. It's an exciting time for everyone.
Bien sûr, on reparlera du négatif au fur et à mesure aussi. Que ça a aussi posé des problèmes à côté. Donc il reconfirme la 4.4 avec le système Nix sort en novembre.
First, we're simulcast on YouTube and Twitch. So if you want the keen communities of Twitch,
il est légèrement décalé en termes de voix.
You have your choice. Second, throughout the broadcast today, we want to see and hear what you have to say along the way, and you can tell us on social media.
J'espère que j'ai pas trop baissé au niveau son. On entend bien quand même.
We're especially interested to see any photos from those watch parties that are happening across the globe, and we're going to find some way to bring a few of them into the broadcast later in the program. Third, we've also had a Citizencon contest going for people to create their very own slice of life in the PU videos.
J'espère que la prochaine sera à Paris. En vrai, il y a des studios en Europe maintenant, donc peut-être qu'il y en aura une en Europe prochainement. Je sais que Chris est en Suisse aujourd'hui. Il suit la conf depuis... je sais plus quelle ville de Suisse où ils font aussi un event en physique. Je parle du concours qui a eu lieu avec les joueurs, mais ça nous intéresse moins.
He's so afraid. Either way, if you missed the pre-show and are curious if you won, you can check the replay after we're done here today. All right. I just realized that my bosses Chris and Sandy are sitting in a movie theater watch party in Switzerland right now.
Ah, il vient de dire.
Captive audience. So real behind the scenes here. This is especially torturous for Chris right now because he's super excited about the next segment we've got coming up. Aren't you, Chris?
À quoi en contenu? J'aimerais voir du crafting et de la construction de base. Mais je
Do
pense
either
pas.
of you regret that decision so long ago?
Et on sait que la tech preview
Alright,
pour
so I've
tout ce
probably
qui est
pushed my luck
engineering
enough. Let's get to the next thing.
devrait
When Nyx
commencer
arrives next
incessamment
month,
sous peu
it'll
aussi.
have Levski, the Glacium Belt, and the new Welcome to Nyx operation we just discussed. But throughout 2026, we'll also continue to build the star system out with new features and new technologies that will not only set Nyx apart and give it a unique identity from its sibling star systems, but continue to set Star Citizen apart from other video games altogether. Now at this point, if you're running one of the watch parties, you're going to want to crank your speakers up for some brand new music from the maestro Pedro himself. And let's take a look
Montez le
at
son chez vous.
some of what the next year has to offer for the Nyx system.
Ok, donc tout le contenu de l'année qui arrive va être principalement axé autour de Nyx, j'imagine, ce qu'il vient de dire. Je remonte un peu.
At Cloud Imperium Games, we believe art inspires the best technology, and through the development of that technology, it pushes us to create even better art. When Genesis comes to the persistent universe starting next year,
Ah, il parle de la
it will change
techno
how you
de
experience every world, and not just
rework
in the
des
building
planètes.
of the new planets for the Nyx system. We will also go back through Stanton and Pyro and reimagine them through the lens.
Ah, il est en train de
of
dire
our
que
technology.
la nouvelle version qu'ils nous ont présentée l'année dernière sera présente à
We
Nyx.
create slices of biomes, like deserts or forests. This approach moved us forwards and got us this far, but solving the scale was always tricky. And for Star Citizen, we like to do scale on another level. Issues like seeing tiling from our height maps from high altitude, or the unpredictable blending when two biomes connected, were common. But ultimately, things just never felt right. Our worlds were gorgeous, but to us, they still sometimes felt like interpretations. Now, this was a super hard problem, which we needed to solve at the scale for Star Citizen requires. We challenged ourselves to emulate nature in the most believable way, and not just on a planetary scale, but to our level of detail.
Ok, donc les nouvelles planètes de Nyx avec les nouvelles techno de planètes.
With Genesis, we've made a complete paradigm shift to how we do things. Biomes are now created
c'est
based on
stylé.
the physical data sets, with the assets being spawned whenever and wherever the correct criteria is
Putain, les
found.
montagnes ont l'air beaucoup plus hautes que dans les
So when you
systèmes
see
actuels.
a forest or a meadow, it's no longer because an artist painstakingly crafted it there. It's now because it simply wants
Ah oui, ils
to
ont
be
transformé
there.
les outils pour que ce soit
It fits
complètement
inside
systémique.
our
Ça c'est
rules.
stylé. Il aura fallu 10 ans, mais nous y voilà.
Genesis also ties into our other gameplay systems.
Allez!
Our new planets are built from the information we
Ah,
create
là, c'est
for our
stylé, ça,
different
c'est stylé.
data sets. Like height maps, humidity, temperature, soil types, soil amounts, geology erosion data, to name but a few. This means you can now tell where to find valuable minerals as the geology looks like it would be suitable for it. Where scree piles exist below sheer cliff faces, and where rocks have broken off over time due to erosion. Of course, these new tools still give us the ability
What
to
the fuck?
direct the look and feel we want.
C'est des champignons, des plantes?
The attention to detail from the tallest mountain to the smallest flower is still our core DNA.
Pareil, la tech des nuages dans l'année qui est écoulée là, elle est devenue tellement bien.
Detail-orientated mindset as we focus on the quality, and it provides the quantity.
Putain, c'est des marées?
Genesis provides our planets with the ultimate sense of exploration and adventure, discovery in the purest emotional form. We want you to find that perfect place, with the planets providing an abundant resource to harvest. This is a major part
Ouais,
of
en vrai,
exploration
le changement visuel des planètes.
We want that feeling
Après,
of
on a
finding
vu les
all
marches
the
évoluer
universe
petit
that
à
you're
petit, mais
falling
c'est vrai
in
que là,
love with, and where you want to settle
la nouvelle
down
version, elle a l'air
and build your
assez
own.
incroyable visuellement.
Now I'm going to hand you over to Will to go deeper into what we have
J'ai
built
l'impression
that
qu'il y a
allows Genesis
de la
to
global
realize
illumination aussi.
our vision.
En termes de
As a
lumière,
reminder,
c'est
some of the
très
visuals
stylé
you'll see
et
will
je
evolve
sais que c'est prévu. Ça devait sortir cette année, mais je sais pas où est-ce qu'ils en sont encore. Je pense que ça bouffe trop de framerate encore et ils veulent encore polish le truc pour l'instant.
Thanks, Ian. So, in case it's not already clear, Genesis is our name for a group of technologies that are improving our ability to build worlds, refining those that we've already created, and ultimately expanding our persistent universe to the scale and quality that we all
Ok, ils vont nous décrire toutes les phases du truc.
So let's talk about how that's continued to evolve since our presentation last year. And instead of just highlighting some really cool biomes that we can create, let's go ahead and show how all this work applies to the upcoming planets of Nyx. So there are 3 planets in Nyx. Nyx 3 is a gas giant, and I think it's blue. It's not going to surface. I don't really know.
Génial. Pratique.
Nyx 2 is a yellow, toxic.
Donc ça c'est les premiers concepts qu'on avait déjà vus.
And it's like a very volatile planet with high risk reward gameplay. It's going to have some
Vous avez
really
montré l'année
interesting
dernière.
biomes for you to discover.
Voilà ce qu'on a peint, voilà quoi on aimerait que ça
Now,
ressemble.
It's going to be dangerous because today we're going to focus on what we consider to be the hero planet of this system.
Ok, donc il y a quand même une planète qui est considérée comme principale par rapport aux autres. Et cette fois-ci c'est
Nyx
in-game.
1 has got a rugged, remote beauty. It's got a diverse set of biomes from weathered rocky mountain ranges to vast sweeping forests and grasslands.
C'est vrai que putain.
And from damp expansive wetlands to claustrophobic festering swamps.
Le nombre de joueurs qui vont installer leur base à cet endroit-là.
Concepts give us a fantastic platform to hone our technology. In some cases because the current tech couldn't do them at all, or because we want to completely step up our game for them. So, let's approach this planet in much the same way that you, the player, will, from orbit. The orbit appearance of the planets going forward is far more tied to what is present on the surface. Previously, we had different data that drove the orbital and ground coloring. That's because the orbit was designed to look like vegetation that we'd place on the surface.
Ça se voit en
ground
vrai.
coloring was trying to be a mix of soil, rock, and the organic compound coloring that forms the
Avant on
color
voyait
scheme.
vachement le pop-up, enfin moins évidemment que dans les autres jeux, mais on voyait vachement le pop-up de quand on est très très loin de la planète et qu'on se rapproche. Le changement des textures sur le sol et tout.
And brown or yellowy tones for sand and soil. We wanted to keep it as simple as that.
Là,
The same
putain,
set of textures and data that define the color of the soil, sand and rock on the ground.
La résolution des
We then
des
assess the
textures
presence of vegetation
de
and
loin est
competition
stylée.
between different species on each part of the planet and use that to blend in tones of green, including variations due to species health and the current season. This creates a far more complete image and allows you to identify features, geologies, and potential points of interest all the way from space. Let's go down to the surface and start with something closer to what you're used to, but in a whole new light. When we approached the surface of the planet, we wanted to start by focusing on just the soil and rock. One of the things that was missing from our terrain previously was simply feature complexity. Looking at our contemporaries, we lacked detail at the ground scale. To combat this, we've added a new layer of data. That layer is called the medium tiles. These are intelligently placed on top of the existing 4-kilometer terrain tiles based on slope, soil type, and other erosion data. And these medium tiles
Ouais, c'est ça, c'est une
just
résolution
create
d'image
changes,
entre les deux
they also bring in
quand on
local
n'est
erosion
pas à
data
10 000
from
km
soil
de
and
l'objet et
bedrock
pour
size
voir quand même le
values.
truc au sol.
And this gives us a whole new level of terrain detail, of scale, and allows us to create far more unique locations across the planet.
Putain, mais
So now that we've
les
nailed
arbres
the
au milieu
surface,
des...
let's have a look at adding some rocks. We've now got 2 major contributors to the rock content of our planets. Firstly, long desired feature, cliffs. We are adding large scale, very detailed to all our cliffs based on the geology at a given location. This adds an exciting new dimension to steep slopes that we simply couldn't get before.
Oui, avant c'était pas possible à cause du fait que c'était une sphère sur laquelle ils mettaient des textures pour faire le terrain.
but only in places you'd expect to find them, thanks to a brand new rock scattering algorithm that isn't annoying as hell. Using physical data generated for each large and medium tile, now rock distribution makes sense and has a physical basis. So if you're still
La question c'est à quel point ça va être chiant de conduire un véhicule terrestre à travers un terrain comme ça, parce que là ça va, et l'exemple d'avant, il y avait tellement de rochers partout que c'est peut-être impossible.
Related to a particular geology that look like they originated from the same source. And this ties into how we'll be distributing minables in much more interesting ways too.
Après c'est bien parce que si les planètes sont plus couvertes de exactement comme ça, et partout des rochers dans tous les sens, si c'est pas comme ça, c'est beaucoup mieux en vrai. Parce qu'il y a beaucoup d'endroits aujourd'hui dans le jeu où c'est quasiment impossible d'utiliser un véhicule terrestre tellement qu'il y a de rochers dans tous les sens.
And they're found in all sorts of elevations, like mountain valleys, open plains, and dense meadows.
Il y a tellement plus de paramètres qui rentrent en jeu.
And when we start to add a bit of fresh water, they begin transitioning into more wetland-type biomes. And while forests are super cool, let's focus on the grasslands and wetlands today. So, how are we making these look so great? Obviously, we've had grass before, but never meadows of it. Because until now, we haven't been able to spawn grass in large enough quantities or effectively represented at distance.
Ça va devenir très très technique. Comment on fait pour afficher de l'herbe aussi loin? Planète qui mesure un quart de la taille d'une vraie planète sur Terre.
To create vast quantities of assets across all biomes, whether it be dense meadows or more complex collections of ground cover like you can see in these wetlands.
Oh bordel, les arbres. Oh, ils sont si stylés.
We are also able to fit our grass tiles to the ground by conforming them to the unique terrain underneath. Now we can finally cover complex terrain shapes with grass and ground cover assets, and as a result they are now gravity aligned, meaning each blade is oriented as you'd expect and not sticking out like before.
Parce que les véhicules laissent des traces dans l'herbe.
Let's take a look at how we light our grass. Now, as in real life, the shading of a grass blade, or indeed a whole field of grass, is lit very differently to like a flat surface. We now use a solution that shades meadows of grass far more like fur or hair. And this, if you think about it, makes sense. At a distance, a field of grass is far more like a carpet or cloth than a flat surface. This improves how our grass looks from a near perspective, as well as bringing us nicely into how we're solving.
On a quand même réussi à partir de voilà les nouvelles planètes à alors je vais vous expliquer comment on fait pour coder de l'herbe en 5 minutes.
One of our biggest achievements with Genesis is allowing us to build beautiful biomes out of flora and geology assets like a building set. Like, can I say Lego?
No.
Too late. But in the past, this broke down very quickly when objects simply disappeared when viewing the same biome from 10, 20, 100 kilometers away. Because we don't hide planetary transitions and allow you to view complex regions from very large distances, there are almost infinite perspectives from which you can see a location in Star Citizen. So, how can we afford to evaluate complex spawning logic at runtime for the entire swathes of the planet? Enter the virtual terrain. Virtual terrain, or VT for short, is how we now cache and represent.
Oui, c'est la même techno que dans Unreal 5 avec Nanite et tout. Attention, c'est le passage très technique.
And it's also how we now evaluate and represent vegetation from a distance. When creating the VT for each part of the terrain, we assess if vegetation has covered the ground, and if so, what shading should be applied. For all of our biomes, we're now able to use the same shading model for the distant representation as the close-up asset, whether that's our lovely rolling hills, some more dramatic rockscapes, those muggy wetlands,
ça représente quoi les nombres? C'est en...
even our festering swamps.
enfin, j'allais dire polygone, mais non, c'est en nombre d'assets qui peuvent être spawn dans les régions et tout. C'est assez technique parce qu'ils font des arrondis en gros avec. Et ça permet de voir des distances et des résolutions si tu veux.
This biome combines all of the elements from the other biomes we've shown you today, from water interaction, denser spawning, unique ground coverage, and I think it creates something really unique.
Il y a des ruines là-bas au fond. J'imagine qu'il y aura pas mal de choses à explorer aussi sur les planètes. Parce que c'est une tech qui permet ça justement, donc c'est aussi l'objectif. C'est qu'aujourd'hui elles sont un peu vides, un peu grandes. S'il pouvait y avoir plus de trucs dessus. C'est quand même fou les développeurs, c'est un jeu planétaire. Non mais oui, c'est sûr qu'à ce niveau-là ils sont bien améliorés.
As you can see, Genesis is now inspiring everyone here to create planets of the quality.
Hâte de voir, parce qu'il a dit que pour l'instant ce sera ces techs-là, elles seront que pour le nouveau système stellaire. Et du coup, hâte de voir les planètes, toutes les planètes et tous les mondes existants rétrofit sur ces technos-là. Petit LC.
Up until now, our mission system has been specific to the star system you're in, meaning a Stanton mission
le rework du système de mission.
Stanton system, and a Pyro mission has to take place there. We've never been able to link these together, but with the introduction of our third star system, it's time for this to change. And that begins with the introduction of interstellar cargo.
What are you talking about today?
System-to-system hauling missions.
Ah, c'est pour ça qu'ils ont mis un accès à Nyx depuis Pyro et depuis Stanton. Il va y avoir des routes de cargo, littéralement autoroutes où tu vas devoir faire le triangle tout entier pour pouvoir déplacer des ressources de l'un vers l'autre. Pour toute la partie économie.
So you might pick up some cargo from Ruin Station in Pyro and go through the jump point to Stanton and drop it off there at one of the Helios.
Ça va être hyper dangereux par contre de passer par Pyro pour faire ça. Aujourd'hui tu te fais intercepter quand même assez régulièrement encore quand t'es dedans. La plupart des gens pour l'instant ils restent quand même dans Stanton pour faire du déplacement de cargo.
Just a Drake cutter.
I've got a few ships, but the Drake cutter is really cute, so.
One thing that we're looking to add with these interstellar missions is scripted combat encounters where you can be attacked by NPC ships. Maybe the mission giver has tipped off some pirates who are looking to get a hold of that cargo, as well as express missions,
les pirates.
The deadline timers that you're used to in the regular hauling missions might get really tight.
Il va falloir du coup avoir des escortes pour faire ce genre de mission.
Into hauling missions so far, with the logistical network and making sure they make sense within the themes of the systems, just as much love has gone into the interstellar missions we're making now.
At the start of the show, we said we was going to build out the Nyx system right in front of you after 4.4 launches next month, and why we want to keep as much of what we're doing behind closed doors so you can discover it for yourself, in-game and on your own. We still are excited to share with you a brief look at one of our up-and-coming locations we're calling Rockcracker.
Ok, ils veulent nous montrer qu'un seul endroit du système Nyx pour qu'on découvre les autres.
Okay, so Rockcracker, Jared, is our internal name.
Rockcracker is where you have to crack a rock.
Si.
It's a big rock. You want more?
So way out into the Kiga Belt, you'll find these old QV breaker stations.
C'est pour éliminer.
These were originally industrial facilities breaking apart large asteroids and mining them down. But since they've been mothballed and been left abandoned. So you're going to have to find your way inside and thinking about how do we bring this facility back to life. It's not just about flipping a switch.
Attends, quoi?
As you bring these stations back to life, you'll be lighting the beacon and calling attention to these long forgotten places.
Ah, stylé. Stylé comme gameplay. Trouver les stations abandonnées, les allumer pour récupérer des ressources pendant que la station mine l'astéroïde. Mais ça veut dire que tu t'attires l'attention de tous les pirates de la région qui vont essayer de t'arrêter. Ça va finir en gros fight PVP. Ah, c'est stylé en vrai comme idée.
Or you're going through the main laser entrance. Now, as you're traversing through the facility, you'll find the old engine room. Now, there may be ways to bring the facility back to life, kickstart the engines, and bring power to different parts of the facility. Maybe eventually bringing the laser back online and cracking some rocks.
The secondary gameplay loop is FPS combat. You're not there by yourself.
There may be squatters and outlaws.
Ouais, tu m'étonnes, ça va être le genre d'endroit où tu vas rencontrer tellement d'adversaires.
So you've found these old facilities, you've brought them back to life. You've systematically brought power to various functions of the facility.
Pareil, ça va être tout un...
Activated the laser.
Il y a un petit côté puzzle game à chaque fois qu'il faut allumer des trucs comme ça. Se balader dans toute la station, comprendre comment les différents trucs qui fonctionnent. Ça, dans les dernières quêtes, c'était pas mal d'avoir des systèmes un peu comme ça. Il faut un minimum réfléchir pour comprendre ce qui se passe et ce qu'il faut faire.
Yeah. You just get into your ship and fly in and start searching around and trying to find the pieces that you want to mine.
C'est une bonne idée à voir comment ce sera game à la fin.
This content is for players who enjoy mining, who enjoy exploration, investigation, and don't mind a little bit of FPS content while they're.
Mais c'est full PVP, qu'est-ce que tu racontes? C'est du gameplay full PVP ça. Jamais quelqu'un qui aime bien un petit gameplay inné, chill, va aller dans une station comme ça et allumer le phare en mode je suis ici, venez me chercher. Jamais de la vie.
It wouldn't be worth doing if you couldn't make a good amount of coin. Yeah.
Making promises for the econ team.
Yeah. They've got to balance it.
It's for people who want a lot of minerals. When crafting comes in, when all the other mechanics and features that we want in the game for 1.0 come in, it will be a place where like an organization or a group of like 5-6 people could come and just get a monumental amount of minerals.
Avec une bonne escouade, ça se fait, mais en solo, c'est sûr que c'est mort. Et si tu te prends une orgue entière dans la gueule, c'est terminé.
In addition to what we've shown, there'll be new mission packs tailored to the People's Alliance and their struggles. There'll be events that invest you into the evolving storyline of all three systems we'll have in the game. And of course, when we begin populating these with new planets, there'll be a whole host of ground-based POIs, settlements,
On est à peu près à la moitié des ventes.
inhabited by those trying to make
Pour l'instant, on
their
a
way in the verse.
parlé
And all of
du
this
système
in
et de tout
service
ce
of
qui sort.
building star systems that complement the massive corporate yard of Stanton, the lawless ganking of Pyro, and now the new frontier of discovery for the Nyx system. Should I say ganking?
You already did.
Ça va redevenir très fort parce qu'il a pas son micro. Voilà, merci. Hello. Hello tout ça, ça va?
Rockcracker is just one of the next operations that'll be coming to the Nyx system in the first half of next year, where you're gonna fly into an asteroid and do that thing that miners love more than anything else.
Donc le système stellaire le mois prochain, et ce gameplay là c'est tout début d'année prochaine.
One of the most anticipated features coming to Star Citizen, Genesis, and what that means for the planets of Star Citizen, including the ones already in there. So let's talk to Will Hain and find out more. And I'm just remembering that Will Hain is in France at the watch party. Okay.
Je vous renvoie vers le dev, et non. Aïe aïe aïe. Il est avec la watch party de Hugo Lisoire et c'est Dayoum qui stream là-bas aussi. Ok, ça c'est le fameux pack pour les gens qui voulaient aider au développement et qui voulaient acheter des skins pour l'event. Les armes, what the fuck, c'est des ossements dessus? Donc c'est des armures, c'est le gang de Nyx si j'ai bien compris.
So now, let's go ahead and transition into our next segment. Much of what you see in the show today has been the culmination of a lot of people's work in...
Oh putain.
All right, I had a dream about like this once. Yeah. Okay, so against everyone's better judgment, the thing has finally happened. Can I help you?
How do you think the show's going?
Good.
C'est lui qu'ils ont mis en... Putain.
Kind of been a lot of nicks, right?
Le perso... Non. Le prochain perso qui donne des quêtes, c'est celui-là. Non, c'est pas possible.
Cool. Wow, it's like they only scan the original community portion of me. If pictures steal your soul, imagine what face scanning in PCAP does.
Well, this has been super cringe.
Oui.
So I'm gonna head out.
Merci.
Bye.
Allez, ciao. Putain de merde.
Regular Citizencon is still better. You should have done that.
Putain, il est insupportable.
Thank you. Part of me that isn't a soulless marketing.
Mon cringe man trop vite à fond là. Mais il le sait. Regarde, il est aussi. Putain.
No.
Le pire, c'est que je suis sûr que Chris est en mode non, mais tu peux pas faire ça. Je te donnerai jamais le budget pour faire ça. Et lui il est en mode je m'en bats les couilles, je vais le faire quand même. Allez, c'est le fameux segment. Les vaisseaux. J'ai gardé à côté. J'ai un Excel avec ma matrix de tous les vaisseaux actuellement disponibles et tous les vaisseaux qui risquent d'arriver. Oui, il y a eu au moins un vaisseau vendu pour chaque mise à jour et il y a eu une mise à jour par mois. Donc oui, ça fait beaucoup de vaisseaux. Donc ils ont vendu, je sais pas combien de thunes, je crois que c'est l'année où ils se sont fait le plus de thunes jusqu'à présent. L'Idris, des vaisseaux gigantesques. Mais par contre, c'est vrai qu'il faut le reconnaître, c'est la première année où ils n'ont pas vendu de PNG. Et il dit, ah voilà, on fera un jour ce vaisseau, mais vous pouvez l'acheter maintenant. Ça, ils ont arrêté et c'est plutôt une bonne chose. Maintenant, les vaisseaux sortent in-game en même temps qu'ils sont vendus. Voilà, typiquement le Wolf qui est sorti cette année. Il y a beaucoup de gens qui l'aiment bien. Moi non. Parce qu'il a cette espèce d'énorme aileron en dessous. Le golem qui est le vaisseau de minage le plus petit pour les gens qui démarrent sur cette profession-là dans le jeu. Ça, c'était pas con du tout de mettre un vaisseau là. De Zeus qui est magnifique. Holy shit.
Next year we've got some super exciting ships coming up. We're ticking off a few big ones, which is good. We're gonna see again maybe some ships from some manufacturers that don't have that many in their lineup. There's a few big challenging ones starting.
Il y a le Perseus qui est quasiment terminé, le Paladin qui est terminé, on devrait les voir dans l'année à venir, peut-être avant la fin de l'année. Ok, donc ça va être le Paladin j'imagine. En développement depuis un an.
Brand. It's been a brand that's in Star Citizen for a long time, fighting for lots of military contracts in lore, often up against Aegis, and to the point it actually beat Aegis in the past.
avec des classiques marques militaires. Voilà les meilleurs vaisseaux du jeu globalement, les chasseurs. Ceux-là ils sont moins bons quand même, et on va pas se mentir. Et donc le Paladin qui arrive dans le jeu.
The Paladin is a gunship from Anvil Aerospace designed to support ground operations.
A gunship is a ship that's designed to stay in a sustained firefight while
Il est très résistant et il a des fucking armes de tous les côtés. Hein. Ça c'est vraiment une machine de guerre. Mais il est suffisamment gros pour que je pense pas qu'il sera méta en vrai. De mémoire, le pilote il a accès à pas mal d'armes. Mais si des... Attends, c'est quoi? C'est les ailes, enfin les ailes entre guillemets. C'est des tourelles, le pilote il peut les utiliser. Mais si il y a des copilotes qui viennent, c'est eux qui prennent le contrôle des... Si je dis pas de conneries, c'est un truc comme ça.
It feels like it's coming towards you even when it's just sat still, and I think that's something that helps with it feeling intimidating.
Ils ont nerf le reclaimer juste pour pouvoir mettre ça dans le jeu, voilà. Ça aussi il faut le préciser. Non mais la tourelle au-dessus, ça veut rien dire.
Notice the canopy, you'll see that there's a fairly thick space between where the glass is and the whole exterior. That's because it has deployable armor, which can come out and give you a little bit more cover while you're actually attacking the target head on.
It's got these really nice kind of dual connected wings with the turrets out on the sides just to try and give as much kind of range for those turrets as we can get.
Which is controlled by one of the two remote stations underneath the bridge. If we come around to the rear, you'll see a rail. Now that rail
parce qu'en plus il y a 2 étages dedans donc il va être hyper large. Oui, et la tourelle peut monter sur un rail et passer de devant à derrière pour le touretier, le copilote. Le gunner, ouais, utilisons le mot gunner, ce serait plus approprié. En vrai, ils l'ont plutôt pas mal réussi par rapport au concept.
Two-story room. A lot of our other gunships, the crew gets scattered across the ship, but with the
ils sont 2 de face et de mémoire, il y a un étage en dessous et les 2 gunners ils sont à l'étage en dessous. Ouais, c'est ça, le pilote et le copilote en haut et les 2 gunners qui sont à l'étage en dessous. En termes de visibilité, je sais pas ce que ça donne.
We added a glass floor just to keep the two connected. I think that really helps with the feeling that you're all working together and communicating.
That said, if you don't have the ability to fully crew a paladin, you can
J'espère qu'ils vont montrer le Perseus, hein, vraiment.
Engage in combat solo.
Je pense qu'on va en croiser beaucoup dans le jeu probablement. Et il est plus très loin d'être terminé de ce que j'ai vu.
It's pretty capable of doing a variety of missions within Star Citizen. So if you want to run this ship solo, you can take on combat missions that, say, other heavy fighters like the Scorpius or other ships such as the Drake Cutlass could do.
Ah, ça c'est l'intérieur du coup.
Putain,
ils vont faire la visite guidée entière. Ça va, heureusement il n'y a pas beaucoup de pièces à l'intérieur. Il y a des chambres pour l'équipage et après... Ah putain. On peut mettre 3 caisses, énorme. C'est un vaisseau cargo, non. C'est un escalier pour monter d'un étage à l'autre, ça j'ai pas compris. Oui, les composants sont à l'arrière, à l'étage mais à l'arrière. Pareil, ça c'est un peu bizarre comme choix pour aller réparer. Je sais pas comment t'es censé courir d'un bout à l'autre du vaisseau avec les composants à cet endroit-là.
I think it hits the nail in terms of a really solid military ship. It's really complementary to some of the other ships in the Anvil lineup.
Il est stylé par contre.
Where you've got this big dropship, you know, the Paladin.
Il a la gueule des dropships mais
en
ouvert à l'arrière là, ça c'est stylé. J'aime bien la forme qu'il a.
The thing I like most, I think, about the Paladin is that it's very clearly got a crew of 4 and they all kind of work and operate under the same conditions. You know, pilot, co-pilot, and the 2 gunners. They're basically all equal on the ship. There's 1 toilet, everyone's got the same style. When they're at work, everyone's at the front of the ship together.
It's really odd to me that you call that. You like that there's 1 toilet.
Oui, j'avoue. Pourquoi tu parles de ça?
Well, you know, it's you all work together. You're all equal at work. You're
The toilet seat never gets cold.
Toilet seat never.
Au secours. C'est horrible.
So that's the Anvil Paladin. Whilst originally a military-built craft, it's the perfect ship for folks on the frontier trying to defend against threats. And talking of threats, let's move to our next ship, a replica from Hesperia.
Hesperia? Quoi?
Hesperia are a high-end manufacturer.
Ah putain, ça va être les vaisseaux Vandal. Ça va être le Stinger.
Exotic and particularly alien spacecraft.
Effectively, what they're doing is they're remanufacturing them, making them a little bit more
Les
suitable
vaisseaux
for
aliens.
human flight. And the latest offering from Hesperia is the Vandal Stinger.
Le Stinger. Et c'était sûr. On l'a vu tout à l'heure. Je l'ai dit tout à l'heure quand on l'a vu apparaître. J'ai fait ah ça ils vont essayer de le vendre.
Evil war race that sort of take over, steal technology, absorb it. Fuse it all together into their own needs.
Je me rends pas compte de la taille qu'il fait. Parce que c'est encore un vaisseau de guerre, mais c'est. C'est un chasseur lourd.
The Stinger is a Vandal heavy fighter was
chasseur lourd, ok.
higher tier sort of ace pilots or high-ranking members within their clans.
The Stinger is a competitor to something like the FA or I guess the Scorpius.
It packs a lot of firepower in quite a large frame, so it's a very, very tanky spacecraft. The firepower is almost unrivaled in terms of just both the number and the size of them. So they're for players who don't want agility. They don't want to be in and out quickly.
Oh,
they
le
want to be
cockpit
there
est
brawling
stylé.
with big guns and taking all the hits. One thing Hesperia have done differently with the Stinger is they have done away with the majority of the bespoke weapons.
They heard everyone's complaints about the glaive and blade and have stripped off the original Vandal weapons to allow customers.
Il parle de la 3e personne, je le reconnais.
With the exception of the single size 5 gun.
Cette marque a compris que les joueurs se plaignaient, alors cette marque a décidé de. Non, non, c'est vous. Au secours.
Are generic mounts, so they can be swapped with any of the existing lineup that we have in the game. By doing this, provides greater flexibility to the end user.
C'est des tailles 4 alors.
Wanted for the civilian market. For that one bespoke weapon, the size 5 plasma cannon.
5.
Functionally, it is the same as the existing size 5 plasma cannons on the Scythe and Glaive, but it is a sort of Gen 2 model and wraps it in a different aesthetic compared to those models. You'll see they're very much older Vandal styling. This is much newer.
Ah non, qu'est-ce que c'est que ça?
But underneath, it is the same weapon that people.
Ah, c'est ça la taille 5, ok. Donc il y a... Ah oui, il y a un canon sur le côté du cockpit en plus des 4 armes en dessous.
The Stinger from the squadron team and prepare it for life in the PU.
Et oui, parce qu'on l'a vu l'année dernière dans les teasers de la campagne solo.
So the exterior is a real blend of these kind of hard surface, kind of rare alloyed kind of wings.
Et le niveau de détail est plutôt pas mal.
Structure that kind of webs all of the ship together. You know, it connects the thrusters in, it connects all the kind of underside of the vehicle and pulls the whole ship together.
You can tell it's
il commence à y avoir beaucoup de vaisseaux de combat aliens dans le jeu. J'espère qu'on verra des vaisseaux un peu plus utilitaires de certaines de ces marques. Au hasard le Rylan.
Quite a unique shape compared to some of our other ships, and also gives the pilot a unique position within the ship and kind of gives great visibility out the front.
Ah oui, putain,
Boarding the Stinger
visibilité
is
stylée.
a little unusual compared to other ships, obviously being alien in nature.
You're going through a ramp at the rear, and it leads you kind of straight up into the belly of the ship.
There's, you know, lots of organic detail, rib cages, kind of strange alien forms.
On entry of the cockpit, the seat kind of comes down towards you, and you kind of climb.
Ah oui, comme dans tous les vaisseaux.
You're basically riding into the cockpit. It feels very much like you're being carried inside the cockpit.
T'es allongé en position moto dans le vaisseau.
I'm very happy with the Stinger. I think the team done a really good job of making something that feels different, it feels alien, but it suits our lineup of ships and it suits our universe.
Je pense que dans l'année à venir, les vaisseaux de cette marque-là, on va en voir beaucoup arriver. Tu fais qu'un avec le vaisseau, il y a un peu ce côté-là, oui. Bah, comme avec le, en vrai, comme avec le Blade, c'est un Blade mais un peu plus gros et un peu plus lourd en vrai.
So we have the Paladin for the People's Alliance. We have the Stinger for people that really like Vandul and want to try and pretend to be them. But what about the other mysterious faction we have running around?
So Gray Chowdhury got his start as he was working at a cargo center out in Odin. He started being able to get his hands on some stuff that other people couldn't.
Items les aliens
that necessarily you couldn't find on a store shelf, but you wanted anyway.
I think Gray is interested in, happy customers. Gray just sees themselves as a conduit to get these things in the hands of people who would appreciate them.
And I think that his latest offering is really going to turn some heads.
So the
Qu'est-ce que...
Well, we don't really know what it is, if I'm
Hein?
to be fair.
It's what happens when someone who is a genius at aeronautics and
C'est un
assembly
code classe
is
à
given
modifier.
free rein to do whatever they want. It's the
Qu'est-ce que c'est que
best
ça?
of whatever they can find lying around,
Oh, qu'est-ce que c'est que
put
ça?
together to make something truly unique, wonderful, arguably beautiful.
C'est un cutlass sans les ailes avant et avec une tourelle en plus sur le, enfin une tourelle 2 fois plus grosse au-dessus.
Exterior of the Shiv, I think most people will probably recognize there is more than a fair proportion of a cutlass.
Oui, c'est un
visible
cutlass.
there, but it's had
Cutlass
quite a
stéroïde,
few
putain.
changes to it.
As you look a little bit closer, you'll start to pick out
Un peu ce
elements
côté-là,
from
oui.
other ships. You've got, main thrusters that are from the Valkyrie.
Hein?
Even the bits that are obviously a cutlass have had
Mais
panels
qui a fabriqué
gone,
cette
panels
immondice?
removed. The top turret, which is now remote, is just this
Il est encore plus
hodgepodge
Drake que les
amalgamation
vaisseaux
of
Drake
multiple
habituels.
other ships' turrets. And then the changes continue onto the
Ah
inside,
putain,
where,
la
again,
tourelle est
it sort of
contrôlable à
feels
distance au
cutlass-like,
lieu d'avoir un
but
mec
then
qui doit
you'll
monter dedans
find
comme dans l'original.
There's bits of Crusader ships just integrated into the wall when
Oh là là.
Star was there originally.
It has lost its side entrance, some of its cargo capacity, but what it's gained is it's gained visually more powerful thrusters. It's gained a really kind of nice set of belly thrusters. It's upped its firepower.
As ever with the refined work from Gray's Market, you can see that great care was taken to the health and safety to ensure that there's no trip hazards anywhere.
Donc c'est une faction qui bricole ses propres vaisseaux à partir de morceaux d'autres vaisseaux.
If you look carefully, you'll notice there are like tools laying around in the cockpit.
It's gained a toilet.
Oh putain, les chiottes.
Bucket.
Au secours. Hein.
Yeah, it's one for doing stuff, and then you need
Et
a
si
second
ça
one to wash your
fonctionne,
hands.
ce n'est
It's
pas
not an
stupide.
animal.
It has very much taken that ethos of Drake and moved it down a level, which I think is quite an achievement.
Putain, mais le nombre d'armes qu'il a l'air d'avoir, ça a l'air complètement débile à utiliser.
It's the Shiv.
Vraiment, le fait qu'il ait pas les ailes avec les thrusters à l'avant, ça me trigger. Hein.
Where did it come from?
I'm not going to answer that.
Just
Nope.
nothing. Just
No comment.
Ah putain, mais
Gray
oui.
goes to places and talks to people.
C'est le vaisseau
I
que
mean,
Jared
you
il
know,
essayait de
there are just
pitch
many
depuis
ways to
je sais pas combien
find
d'années.
these things that, I mean, are they legitimate, manufacturers? No. Are they operating on the right side of the law? Maybe not, but,
Ah c'est marrant, du coup c'est un vaisseau qui appartient pas à une
Does
marque
Gray
spécifique.
have a motto, an ethos to live by?
It probably comes down to...
C'est la faction qu'il crée, mais c'est
where I got it.
Don't ask how we got it.
c'est une bonne idée en vrai. C'est une bonne idée.
I think the Shiv is for
Faire des match-up de
someone who's
vaisseaux.
doing something a bit different, a bit away from the norm. They just want something that's unique.
It's definitely for people who like a rustic aesthetic.
It's a fun ship, but it's also really strong, to be honest, and it's absolutely a statement.
Il a l'air de pouvoir prendre l'eau
I'm happy
rapidement
with
par
the three
contre.
ship offerings. They are obviously very combat heavy.
There's something we wouldn't normally release all at once, but honestly, all of them are a different statement and they're all cool.
As always, super excited to
Ils
release
sortent
these
tous en même
ships
temps,
into
là
the game and just see how players react and play with them. It's always fun to see the quirks and the shenanigans that people get up to with them. So that's talking ship for another year.
T'as oublié. Ouais.
So I've just been informed that we have to do a bit of a timeshare agreement this year. So we have to throw it over to Alexei for Talking Weapons, which is an extremely original name.
Quoi? Il y a un stage spécifique pour les armes, mais quoi? Ah, cette année ils ont rajouté genre 4 armes dans le jeu. Que des trucs électriques.
The new edition that come out in October. The non-weapons are essentially the weapons that does not have a manufacturer, the weapons that you can think of that were made by space pirates.
Gray sells whatever he can sell.
Ok, donc c'est toujours sur la même faction. Pareil, ça va être que des armes qui sont faites à partir de boue, d'autres armes ou de morceaux de métal à droite à gauche.
These are the most kind of like scrappy and taped together and the most kind of like pyro-ish weapons that you can think of.
Right now we're releasing 3 new
Pirate
weapons.
Wish, j'aime bien la description.
Rocket launcher, the LMG, and the long-awaited Space AK.
Putain, le fameux.
I think this is the one that,
ça, je crois que c'est un fusil d'assaut qu'ils nous ont montré depuis. Ça fait 2 ans qu'on sait qu'il existe.
Politely badgered about the most. It's a fun rifle that basically fires energy and ballistic in sequence. So your first shot will be your ballistic, your second shot will be the energy. You'll see on the top of the art there is a bolt that cycles the rounds and that goes off with the ballistic shot, but it doesn't.
Mais c'était pire, putain.
That is just like a really fun.
Ça tire des balles et des lasers, mais quoi? Attends, mais du coup, il faut gérer les 2 chargeurs ou pas? Comment ça marche?
Kind of aesthetic. The LMG, this thing is a really fun, slow-firing, hard-hitting beast.
It will bring the 50 cal, and the only other weapons that have this right now.
Et ça c'est un balistique du coup.
Bearing sniper rifle and decoder.
Honestly, if you even get hit by one, you just instant tier 1 injury, back to medical.
What the fuck?
Are you even trying anymore?
You know what? We made all these really complicated, fancy guns, and some people just want, I want a slow-firing rifle. Give me a scrap-together box that fires the biggest thing you can possibly find.
Donc lent, mais ça tire les bucks du fusil à pompe. Au secours. Oh putain, c'est du scotch avec des grenades. Oh vraiment, c'est. Qu'est-ce que c'est que ça?
It will have an arming distance, so you will not be able to just point it towards an enemy.
It's also going to have a lot of spread. So essentially, you're going to have to get very close with your launcher to be able to blow up ships with a single payload in it. You can't actually aim with the apparatus because you've got the tube on your shoulder and you try to aim it, you'd have to physically put the tube in your head. So we were like, oh, we can't have an aiming apparatus for this. And then we realized like, it's in the spirit of being a tube that you can't use the aiming apparatus and you just kind of like, all right, I think that's the middle of the screen, I'm gonna hit it.
It's in the spirit of being
Putain.
Are we gonna talk about binoculars? Binoculars are really cool. We don't have anything like this in the bursts, and I think it will be really convenient to use something that's dedicated to look for the things, especially far away, instead of using your sniper scope, for example.
Will the binoculars have glint?
Aïe,
I'm
réponds.
not aware of this one. Probably not, because binoculars are not something that you need to be aware of.
It's really funny because obviously, due to glint gate, as you know, I beautifully internally call it, basically there was a lot of community feedback.
Ça, c'est vraiment
like, oh, I really
mis à feu et à sang la communauté. Est-ce que les snipers doivent glint ou pas?
And essentially, I was like,
En vrai, perso, ça me dérange pas. Mais après, comme je joue à Battlefield et que dans Battlefield, les snipers ont un glint, ça me choque pas plus que ça qu'il y ait d'autres jeux qui l'aient aussi, en vrai.
And I prototyped a thing which essentially was just a scope in a hand, and it worked. So we've got some really cool binoculars coming that allow you to spot people from distances.
Ah si, une vision nocturne
And
avec.
how much damage do the binoculars do?
Oh mais putain.
Depends on how you throw them.
Par contre, les jumelles, pourquoi pas, mais vu qu'il y a le scanning qui est censé arriver dans pas longtemps, utilité à voir.
It's been an exciting year, and I think the next year of ships is going to be even more exciting. And
est-ce qu'ils vont remettre comme l'année dernière un teaser de juste la silhouette des vaisseaux qui arrivent? Parce que c'était vraiment stylé en vrai d'avoir fait ça.
That is an eclectic bunch of combat ships for the verse. and they're all available right now up on the robertspaceindustries.com store.
Allez,
Also,
sortez la carte
now,
bleue.
there's going to be a
Les
P2
vaisseaux sont
drop that
disponibles.
includes all three, so you can fly them now ahead of their release next week when Alpha 432 goes live. 3 combat ships. I wonder if they'll have any additional uses coming up later in the show. That's a hint. All right, what else can I shill? Oh, there's merch. We've got these cool new Levski desk mat things. These are always popular. There's some Levski metal posters on the store, and of course, love them or hate them, but you can't avoid them. There's this cool new Wickelow's Employee
Oh,
t-shirt.
mais putain.
Yeah.
Des t-shirts Wickelo, mais toujours plus.
Today with a bunch of links to offerings from our third-party partners, from eye trackers to gaming chairs to voice packs to spaceship models from new partners like Planet Ring and Pigeon Spaceport and more. You can find all of that on the RSI website as well. And what else can I shill? Oh, for those of you who are at watch parties, where is it? Challenge coins. Who doesn't love challenge coins?
Ouais, pour ceux qui sont allés voir les events en physique. Allez, cadeau, une petite pièce. Au secours.
So you check those out. Don't leave today without getting your Levski challenge coin. All right, what else can I shill? Now I'm kind of tired of shilling. All right, let's find out some more about where we are. Simon, can we move? Can we do? Oh, yeah. Look at that. Okay, here we go. Pardon me. Excuse me. Hi.
Ouh là là.
How you doing? That was my best angle. Hey, I gotta be careful. Last year, I took 3 steps and tore a muscle.
Oui, c'est vrai, il s'est blessé sur scène l'année dernière, juste en marchant. En bas, le mec en bas de l'écran là, qui venait de lever la main tout à la fin, c'est le mec qui s'occupe de la tech de tout le moteur graphique. C'est lui qui est en train d'intégrer tout ce qui est global illumination et tout dans le jeu. C'est lui qui a intégré toute l'API de Vulkan, etc. C'est un magicien. C'est le Gotru, c'est un peu, il est hyper fort. Hein, c'est lui qui avait eu l'idée de... Ah putain, Marc Hamill. Putain, je suis con, je l'ai pas reconnu. Le mec au milieu. Et non, le gars dont on parlait, oui. C'est lui qui a vu... Nvidia a fait DLSS, AMD a fait SSR. Je vais faire le mien et on va le mettre dans le jeu. Et en vrai, il marche hyper bien, le truc de CG. Oh, what the fuck, le niveau de détail du...
Hi, Mom.
Mais putain.
So yeah, and what are you doing, Richard Towler?
Au secours.
All right, I thought John went to Washington D.C. Let's see, what else we got? We got cool Voyager bar here. This is where we get all kinds of breakfast
stylé comme endroit.
coffee, stuff like that.
Petite cafette là.
Hey, who remembers the big coffee controversy of 2016?
Aïe aïe aïe.
Everybody took to Reddit and pondered the question,
Putain.
do devs deserve coffee? I do. You want to see what next year's big controversy is? Check this out. I'm gonna come over here. Do
Mais
devs
putain.
deserve coffee? Welcome to the Stargarita machine.
Qu'est-ce que c'est? Putain de merde.
Do devs deserve frozen deliciousness?
Cranberry en plus. Ah, c'est
I don't
stylé.
know. Go to Reddit and let us know. All right, let's see. Let's go.
Je n'ai pas mangé encore, donc ça me donne faim.
Competition. Oh, competition winners. We have the list of competition winners. Can we put that on the screen? Yeah, sorry, competition winners. Remember the competition for the Citizencon winners? The people made the videos, and we gave them a Kruger L21 Wolf. We actually have the names. They're
Ah oui,
behind
putain.
me. Look.
Il le voit pas. Mais putain, il est insupportable.
All right, that's cool. Also, everybody's got food. Do I have food here? Oh, somebody's supposed to save me pizza. All right, so we got... Oh, you guys saved me a lot of pizza. Let's see,
Mais putain.
there's like 3 different
Mais
kinds of
arrêtez-le
pizza
s'il vous
here.
plaît.
What if we just combine them
Oh non.
into like a challenger
Qu'est-ce qui
situation?
branle? Et putain de merde. Je me désolidarise de tout ce que fait Jared ce soir.
So, I have now crafted my own pizza experience. And that is a
Non.
terrible segue
Non.
into our next segment.
Non.
Gemma, can we Gemma, are you there?
Quel con.
Come Can we fire up the FPS crafting segment while I try to chew this off camera?
We sure can. Roll it, baby.
J'ai fait ça juste pour qu'on parle de crafting. Oh, bordel de merde. Putain. Alors, un des sujets que j'attendais le plus évidemment.
Star Citizen at its heart will always be an enormous sandbox experience where you can set out to tackle the universe in whatever ways you want. But that doesn't mean we can't shape parts of the universe here and there to better suit our needs. That goes for both you and us. Let's start this part of the show with a look at how crafting is going to change everything.
Allume le détecteur de faux gameplay. Oui, là c'est parti là.
And even combat.
Ça peut être très hypant, mais ça peut être 100% fake ce qu'il va nous montrer.
First version of crafting is
Qu'est-ce que vous voulez?
quite small in scale. We're going to use it as a kind of a concentrated effort to allow the players to experience the initial UI, the flow of gathering materials.
Commencer petit, déjà c'est une bonne chose. Pour l'instant, ça va.
Craft items which are better than what they have currently.
Parce que l'année dernière, quand il nous a dit on va construire des stations spatiales, on va vous permettre de crafter des stations spatiales, c'était déjà beaucoup trop loin.
For Star Citizen, crafting is our primary progression mechanic. Star Citizen isn't your standard MMO. We don't have levels. We have ships. We have gear. We have things that you create in the world.
J'ai pas la ref.
Perfect.
Je suis
You
désolé.
research. You improve. And those items, those ships, those vehicles, the armor and weapons, that's how you progress in Star Citizen.
Le mec qui fait résultat. Ah oui, mais je sais pas à qui tu fais référence, c'est pour ça.
Crafting isn't just a progression mechanic for creating new items. It's also a fundamental change to
Alors pareil, crafter des vaisseaux, j'imagine que ce sera pas avant très longtemps.
How you refine them, quality matters.
Crafting the weapons, you'll be able to have some quality materials to influence the item stats on those weapons.
It'll be somewhat random, potentially weighted on the location of the material. Some will have a higher chance of higher quality. And once you take those materials to your crafting bench, the fabricator, you can use them to craft, and the different attributes will be increased based on the
Taser qui n'est pas dans le jeu de mémoire.
materials you use. It's not just iron ore anymore, it's iron ore of the quality that you know will get you the stats for the item that you desire. And
Putain, lui,
it's not just mining, it's
la debug
essentially every
UI en haut à gauche.
resource we can get our hands on.
To support this, we also need major changes to inventory so that all of these new resources that you're collecting, you can see what you have.
La nouvelle interface d'inventaire qui, on l'espère, sera mieux que le truc actuel qui est vraiment atroce à utiliser.
Crafting system yet, we'll be using the existing ones. Those will pass the quality through into the refined materials, which you can then take to your crafting machine and start making your
donc il y a
items.
Machine pour crafter.
Once you have your blueprint
Tu mets les
and
ressources
your
dedans.
quality materials that you've refined, then you can put them together on the
lui
This
de
will
debug.
be pretty much what we showed in
Ça sort
last
pas cette année,
year's
ça.
Citizencon with the
Ça c'est
UI
pas dans les
letting
prochains
you
10 ou
assign
12
your
mois, ça c'est
quality
mort.
resources to
Putain.
different aspects of the item. Once you're happy with what you see on the preview, you'll be able to click to craft and it'll get queued up and your result will be produced sometime later.
Et donc on peut crafter des armes, et que des armes, c'est ce qu'il semble dire. Dans la première version en tout cas. L'imprimante 3D, oui c'est ça. Tu mets les ressources et ça les transforme en... C'est à moitié imprimante, à moitié micro-ondes.
Just to test and mess around, but the vast majority of them will be earned through missions, and then you can use that blueprint to craft the item that it is that you've got the blueprint for. So it should be a good reason to go and
donc il confirme qu'il va falloir trouver les schémas, donc les blueprints des objets, et sinon tu peux pas crafter l'objet correspondant. Il va falloir aller chercher toutes les blueprints à travers l'univers.
Maybe a gun will shoot faster, maybe it'll do some more damage, or your armor will have greater resistance.
Il reparle des tiers et de la qualité. Est-ce que ça ce sera dans la première version ou pas? C'est la nouvelle armure qui sort avec la mise à jour la semaine prochaine. Après ils nous ont dit la même chose avec les maps pour rappel. Il fallait aller chercher les maps à droite à gauche et aujourd'hui c'est pas encore in-game pour rappel. Donc est-ce qu'au début il y aura une version où on aura directement tous les plans pour pouvoir tester le truc ou pas?
Mass amounts of data and mass amounts of users using it. So I'm very excited to get it out in the wild.
It's our intention to get crafting out on tech preview by the end of the year and get the
Tech preview avant la fin de l'année pour le crafting. Ok. On pourra tester ça assez rapidement. C'est bien qu'il le fasse en tech preview aussi et pas le mettre directement dans l'alpha parce que sinon ça va mettre 15 000 ans à devenir correct. Parce que là c'est sûr qu'il va y avoir plein de retours de joueurs pour dire ce que vous avez fait c'est de la merde, il faudrait mieux que ce soit ça, 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 ça. Je pense qu'il va y avoir beaucoup d'allers-retours là-dessus.
We're bringing instancing to Star Citizen in 2026. Why
are
we doing it,
yes.
and how will it work?
Benoît Beauséjour.
So if you've played any content
le
in
CTO.
2025 in Star Citizen, you know that most of these areas were in actual PvP zones where other players could interfere. Instancing is a means to create an environment.
Ça y est, on va pouvoir enfin
that's tuned to a specific group size,
avoir des donjons et des trucs comme ça avec l'instancing.
It's not to say that we don't love PvP. I'm a PvP guy. PvP me, bro.
Et
But like most MMOs, a good balance between
c'est un vrai problème aujourd'hui de tu fais des missions, voilà, typiquement t'affrontes un boss, n'importe quel groupe de joueurs peut débarquer à n'importe quel moment pour te démonter alors que t'es en train de fight un boss ou un truc comme ça. Et typiquement dans le dernier boss là qui est sorti hier, quand tu rentres dans la pièce pour l'affronter, les portes se ferment à clé pour empêcher d'autres joueurs de venir parce que pour l'instant ils n'ont pas les technos qui te permettent d'instancier juste la pièce de manière transparente. Et c'est très bien qu'ils fassent ça. Pour permettre à des joueurs qui n'aiment pas trop le PVP non plus de pouvoir quand même jouer au reste du contenu autour.
So it's not about one thing or the other, it's really about unlocking developers' ability to create curated content. So that said, how will it work? Instancing is really an evolution over static to dynamic meshing.
Aujourd'hui, le seul truc instancié, voilà, c'est le hangar personnel. Voilà, et là on est dans l'instance du joueur. Ultimate Divac.
The transition is just like a dynamic mesh transition. And so throughout the universe, we will be able to add these areas that are open or closed instances that allow you to join in either with a party and have a reserved instance for your party, or join in open instances that has a number of slots. And so some of those areas will be completely instanced on different servers. This allows us to leverage the compute power of the entire mesh. The closed ones will be really to drive one piece of content. You enter and exit seamlessly, just like we do with your instance hangers.
Ah yes, mais j'imagine que typiquement pour la base astéroïde dont on a parlé tout à l'heure, ça leur permettra de gérer le nombre de joueurs qu'il y a dans une zone toute petite aussi. Ça c'est un vieil event ça, putain. Ils vont le remettre au goût du jour avec ces technos-là.
But now with the introduction of instancing, it gives us an opportunity to evolve it and modify it and make it better for you and a small group to work through that activity.
C'était à l'époque où il y avait que des serveurs de 50 joueurs max. Et ça a explosé les perfs de tous les joueurs sur le serveur, c'était une dinguerie.
Puts the call out for volunteers because basically the Nine Tails have taken over sort of a cluster of floating platforms.
Avec les technos qui sont arrivés cette année, c'est vrai que ça devrait beaucoup mieux se passer ce genre d'événement. La dernière fois qu'ils l'ont run, c'était il y a facile 2 ans et demi, presque 3 ans maintenant, je pense.
will go in, you'll all have sort of dedicated roles. Some of you might be the tank who brings in the heavy weapons and sort of pulls the fire. Some of you might sit at the back and be the sniper and pick people off who are a bit further to make the advance easier. Some of you will be the medic who sole job is going to be revive and look after the rest of your team.
C'est quoi cette armure?
And some of you will be the people who push for the objectives to try and get sort of most of the mission done.
C'est avec Val, on l'avait fait à 2 en une soirée et c'était à deux, c'est vraiment chaud. Ouais.
When it first debuted, it was already too full for what it was designed for. It was a
oui, non
massive
mais au début
operation
c'était.
at the time. I think that bringing it back and
C'était
giving it a
hyper compliqué de
refresher
jouer
will
dans ce
be
mode de jeu là.
a fantastic addition back into the PU.
So imagine if Siege was a instance that you could go in and play solo, or if it was a public event that you could go with your friends, or you could join up with random players on the server. There's lots of ways that we want to take a look at Siege, how we can make it a more approachable piece of content.
I'm excited to say the least to bring back Siege of Orison to Star Citizen and to sort of have it be one of the first tests that we have for instancing and really get it back to sort of a core experience point where it should be. So while the next season is quite heavily focused on Nyx, I'm also very happy that we're not really ignoring our other two systems of Standard and Pyro, and we're going back there and we're sort of improving and expanding on the player's life in those two systems as well.
Ouais, c'est ça, ça permet d'avoir quand même du contenu qui va avoir lieu sur Stanton et pas que à Nyx l'année prochaine.
Like Genesis, Interstellar Hauling, Crafting, Siege of Orison, and more will reveal next year will continue to bring life into the existing universe outside of Nyx. There's still one more exciting use for instancing we're building right now.
Ah, il va parler des donjons.
Look than normal, and some of it is still in whitebox, but we're excited to share the first look at a major content release of 2026 and what it means for progression-based gameplay. As an evolution of our Building Interior initiative, you won't discover it by accident, because when it's complete, it will be found deep within the heart of Levski itself. This is the Municipal Works.
Quoi? J'ai pas compris ce qu'il a dit. Et donc c'est des zones instanciées dans Levski?
Huge vaporization chambers, old processing plants, industrial tunnels.
Ah oui, c'est que du white box. Ils ont pas fini de crafter l'endroit.
So this is the true history of Levski. This is a place where you won't see in Lorville, you won't see in I-18 or the other landing zone. It's the pure basis of Levski. You will have, of course, metal and tunnels and more structural.
Nicolas Pinchot, si celui-là il est pas français.
Rock and cave. So it's not a place you go to take vacation. It's really a place you go to fix stuff.
Not everybody has what it takes to come down there and do the job that needs to be done.
All of your sewage systems have stopped working. Everything's going to quite literally. And so the player is tasked with their group, most likely, to go into there, take out the outlaws and get the facility working again.
Ah, c'est stylé aussi comme contenu.
So let me get this straight. This is literally a mission to fix the toilets of Levski.
It's not just the toilets.
Alors.
You're also trying to turn on the air. Air is a bit more important. It still works in Levski, but they have like maybe polluted air because it's not being cleared properly. It's not just for the toilet.
Poop mission.
It's also a little bit more exciting than just going
Après, c'est qui disait que dans chaque jeu vidéo il y a forcément une mission dans les canalisations et tout là, dans les égouts pardon. Il fallait qu'il y ait une mission égout un jour. Le décor en white box. Ça a l'air grand aussi en vrai.
We've been wanting to have more gameplay around landing zones for a long time. Now that we have instancing tech coming online, that allows us to do something that provides really cool gameplay close to a landing zone.
With the missions, that's what will create different overlays or change the spaces or change the progression, but it'll be the instancing which will enable us to create tailored content to you and your group. So you're going to be able to play a part of it, make your progress, and then log off. And then the next time you come online, you'll be able to pick up where you left off.
It's going to allow players to return back to a different
garder de la progression dans les donjons. Parce que c'est vrai que clairement aujourd'hui, quand tu commences une mission, vu que c'est tout le temps en open, n'importe qui peut venir avec toi et la terminer potentiellement. Si tu déco au milieu, de toute façon c'est sûr que tu reviens, c'est terminé depuis longtemps. Permettre aux gens de jouer à certains contenus à leur rythme, c'est pas con aussi. Perd un peu l'aspect univers vivant, mais c'est pour avoir permettre plus de qualité de jeu aux joueurs.
Okay, is that it for me at this point, Jared?
Almost. Throw it back to me, and I've got one more for you after this.
Back to you, Jared.
Score. Ça va bien se passer.
Everybody's really excited about the year ahead. So that's a brief look at some of the ways in which we're allowing you and our developers to craft a more curated Star Citizen experience. Now, at this point in the show, we are in the home stretch. We've got only one more segment to go. But before we do that, we wanted to check out, we said earlier in the show that we would look at what you were saying during the show. We looked at how to put YouTube comments on the stream, and it was immediately apparent that we were going to lose our broadcast license, so we're not going to do that. We did find some social media stuff on Twitch, though, or not Twitter, X. What is it called now? Let's see what this says. Let's see. We've got Welcome Back Levski from, I'm not wearing my glasses. Oh, no. Oh, time to suit up. Let's go get him, says Ubu. I really should have worn my glasses. Cue the bagpipes. That's the other game, Charlie Oscar.
Non.
Let's see. Nice to see you live, Jared. Mom?
Putain.
Let's see. First Citizencon after playing for almost a decade in Austin. Oh, nice. Straight out of Klesher, back to the Hex. Photos from Leicestershire.
Ouais, pour l'instant, Nix, Genesis, c'était plutôt stylé. C'est cool que ça sorte aussi vite. Évidemment, il fallait qu'ils vendent des vaisseaux, c'est un event, et vous le savez, à chaque fois qu'il y a un event, il faut qu'il se fasse des thunes. En plus, si la mise à jour sort la semaine prochaine, ouais, ça va rester up, ça va facile de rester up 3 semaines là.
Big Citizencon versus Digital Citizencon versus what we're doing today, which is Citizencon Direct. Every year, Citizencon is a monumental task for any number of people, whether that's development, marketing, the support teams, the platform teams. Everybody comes together to make this thing happen and go off, hopefully without a hitch. And so far, we've been doing all right, other than some stuff in the room here. You know who you are. They had to know who. But doing Citizencon is not always the easiest thing for our developers. You might not assume this, but most game developers are not social butterflies. They tend to like to sit quietly in the dark at their computers, like little goblins.
Tu veux dire que les développeurs, c'est pas tous des experts sociaux? Comment ça?
You want to be on video? And they're like, no. And I'm like, it's in your contract. And they're like, oh yeah. So we thought, we usually do it behind the scenes afterwards, but we thought we'd do a little bit of it here. The folks in the editorial department put together a brief montage of some of the more candid moments from the filming of Citizencon over the last couple of weeks, so we're going to spend 2 minutes and take a look at that. Let's see what they put together.
How many Citizencons have you performed in now?
Oh putain, les bloopers.
Just the one. Nope, my first one. One last year. Two.
A few.
8.
Oui, il était l'année dernière. Lui, il est là à chaque fois, lui, il est là à chaque fois forcément.
Did you like doing it?
Yes, I was.
Ça fait 10 ans qu'il est là. Lui, ça fait quelques années aussi.
The first live one, I was a mess.
Weird combination of going from insane highs to insane lows.
Live ones.
Lui, évidemment, il est là depuis 15 ans.
The live ones are
Lui aussi.
Pre-tape's always fun, but the live events are special, aren't they?
Remember we were at that weird crack house in
Lui aussi. Il est là depuis quasiment le début.
I like the live ones. Oh, I mean, I love these digital ones. These are the best.
Every time I've done it, it has been a digital one, and I'd like to do
Elliot, il a bien monté dans les grades aussi parce qu'il a commencé, je crois, vers 2018. Il était juste, je design des petites missions à droite à gauche, et aujourd'hui, il gère toutes le contenu missions qui sont dans le jeu. Puis pareil, putain.
I am a very shy individual, so this is me
Tellement
just
évolué.
trying to get out of my shell.
getting the crowd to react to the ideas that we've been working on for so long.
We can react.
On peut peut-être remonter un petit peu aussi.
I can feel your passion from here.
Cut the camera. Counting you down in like, you've got 30 seconds. I'm like, do I stand up? Do I sit down? Do I drink? Do I not? Do I talk?
This will be the best one yet. That's right. Because it's nice and short.
Is this all supposed to be usable content? Because I could do different.
No.
Aïe aïe aïe.
Of all your nicknames, why is Moistmaster your favorite?
I think you mean least favorite, and because it has the word moist in it. I mean, come on.
We'll give you a new nickname by the end of this.
Sounds good. Could do
All
with
right,
one.
Let's get started.
So for those of you watching at home or at the watch parties, you're like, why are we showing that? I put that in there because I'm eternally grateful for all of the CIG staff and developers who take the time to appear on these things, whether it's ISE, SCL, Citizencon, walk on stage, be pre-recorded. It's not the easiest thing for everybody. And on behalf of the community, if I can speak for them in this regard, I want to say
Mettre des développeurs devant une caméra, quelle idée.
these things each and every year that we have them. Now, let's wrap things up here. So, let's see, how do I want to do this? At this point, we've only got one major story left to tell. But before we do that, we wanted to do one more check-in on something we started last year. Last year, Rich Tyler took the stage and presented his roadmap to 1.0. And we didn't want to go an entire year without talking to the senior game director himself to get his update on that 1 year later. So we're going to throw it to him and
Okay,
go
le
to our
mot
last segment.
de
And
Richard
when we come
Tyler.
back, we'll say our goodbyes. And if you're at a watch party, it's time to get. I was going to say that's not a word I can say on camera.
Ça
Let's
fait
just go.
que
Let's just
un
throw it
an
back to me. Go to me
que
from
les
1
features
week
de la
ago.
1.0 ont été décidées. Au secours. Et finalement, on a tout changé. Non. Non, 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 au secours. je vais devenir fou.
Last year, Senior Game Director Rich Tyler took to the stage and revealed our plan for 1.0. Now, before we end this year's Citizencon Direct, we wanted to take a few moments and follow up on that reveal from last year, to do as we've done today and look at the year ahead. So, Rich, thanks for taking the time to join us.
On s'est rendu compte que notre roadmap devait durer pendant 10 ans, alors finalement on va réduire le scope pour essayer de sortir le jeu plus vite.
So I'm going to ask you outright, what's
Ou
changed about
pire, à l'inverse.
Well, fortunately nothing. It still remains our North Star. The team is busy working towards that goal in the background, and every patch this year has moved us towards that goal. And if you haven't watched the Star Citizen 1.0 presentation from last
vraiment
year,
pas très fort.
I highly recommend you do so, because everything in it is still relevant as of today.
You mentioned every patch this year has moved us towards that goal, so I want to dig deeper into that. We've done, at this point, 9 releases in this year, more than any year prior. How does each one of these not just sit as their own moment in time, but move us forward on this road to 1.0?
Well, last year I discussed the framework of 1.0, how all those complex systems can tie together. And one of the core aspects of that was the main story, which became the spine of the universe, which brought all of the locations, mission givers, guilds, and all the different areas of the game to the players. Now, what I didn't talk about from last year was all of the content that was going to support that framework, add the flesh to the bones, should we say. And I think that's where this year has moved us towards that goal. If you think about previous events of previous years, they've generally been locations that we've put into the verse, but they've been transient. We've taken them away, like Siege of Orison or Zenithreat. We've added them to game, and then they've been moved away. And I think with the addition of the patches this year, when you look at the Hathor facilities, Onyx facility, these are permanent additions to the world that not only have their own story,
Oui, mais il y a eu des events au milieu.
but they'll also become points of interest and areas that the larger 1.0 narrative will utilize.
Since we're on story, I'm going to stay with this here. Since we launched the PU back in 2015, it's always been this sandbox where players can do what they want. They can bring their own story to the verse, and that'll never change. But how important is it that we also build this concurrent narrative of our own, this crafted experience, if you will, alongside that?
Well, we're trying to create a living, breathing universe. And that includes both the player stories that you mentioned, that they can go and enjoy and create their own memories together. But it also means that we want to have a universe that gives back. We want areas and locations to feel like they're believable and real-life locations. And if you look throughout this year and the patches that we've worked towards, we've had an overarching story that's moved from patch to patch, and we're going through those.
Je suis qu'à moitié d'accord avec ce qu'il dit, mais
we've also been introducing mission content that has fully voiced dialogue and facial animation, which allows us to inject some of the meaning and the why to what you are doing.
À ce niveau-là, c'est pas encore assez évolué, clairement. La moitié des quêtes, l'histoire de la quête, c'est littéralement juste un texte dans la description.
To see this big turn this year to start injecting story into the verse.
Et c'est marrant qu'il sépare en deux le côté sandbox et le côté histoire craftée à la main. Est-ce qu'il y a énormément de joueurs en vrai qui veulent aller vers cette deuxième partie? C'est pas sûr.
I think it's gone very well. I think if the mantra that I've always been pushing this year at the beginning of January was patch always goes. And I think this year has seen a different development strategy for how we've been moving the game forward. That's where this different strategy has allowed us to really take a wider approach. And we also have to remember that Star Citizen is played by tens of thousands of players every day. And while we have lofty future goals, we still have to make decisions right now that make the game fun for the people that are playing it.
Oui.
Playing
Sur ce point, on ne peut pas vraiment contredire. C'était une bonne idée de faire des missions et du contenu régulièrement, plutôt que de dire rendez-vous dans 8 mois quand la prochaine grosse feature sort.
There were 3 months, 4 months, sometimes 5 months between patches.
Exactly, and I don't think that's good for anybody. I don't think it's good for the players.
Flashback 2017, l'année où il n'y a pas eu de patch tellement que ça met du temps à sortir la 3.0.
One good example is this year for A Line of Mine. People probably don't know, but A Line of Mine, when you turned on the laser, it was actually supposed to reveal the sandworm Valakar. And I played it, and it didn't hit the quality that I wanted to go into the game. So we changed, and I took it out, and I made that decision alongside Chris and Erin.
Mais c'est vrai que c'est lui qui prend la plupart des décisions. C'est lui qui a mis un énorme stop à Chris en mode tu arrêtes d'avoir 15 milliards d'idées à la seconde, il faut sortir un jeu un jour, on va définir c'est quoi le jeu que tu veux sortir. En vrai, on arrivait à changer énormément de choses sur le projet. Ah, je l'ai entendu. On parle de moi.
Very soon for players to get their hands on.
Very soon. Dans les 10 prochaines années, c'est promis.
I would hope that we would have released more features, but I also think every decision we've made this year has been through the lens of making the live experience as stable and as good as possible.
Absolutely. All right, so that's a bit about the year before, and the year before has been. I've said this before, I've said it internally, I've said it out there, I'm going to say it right now again on camera. I think this has been the best year of Star Citizen ever, and I'm willing to look right into the camera and say that. The player numbers are up, engagement numbers are up, the length of the play sessions
a été une des meilleures
are
années.
up, numbers are down, 30K.
Il y a eu des années bien compliquées avant.
But Citizencon,
ça a quand même été une bonne année.
Talking about the future, so I want to move us to the future. We've talked about
c'est pas la, je pense pas que c'est la meilleure année qu'on a eue, mais c'est une très bonne année.
Universe and adding voice lines and stuff like this. But where do we go from here? Obviously that continues, but what more are we going to do to make this universe seem alive and real and breathing?
I think the biggest thing is to start having that conversation be two-way. So if you think about this year, like you mentioned, we've been having fully voiced NPCs, but a lot of those missions and those NPCs, they're talking to you, they're talking at you. Right. You don't get to talk back to them. Now, obviously, you get to interact with them through your actions. You get to go and do their mission, and you get to move that along, and then they talk to you again. But it's a one-way conversation.
We're missing that conversation wheel.
Exactly.
Il va parler des missions
givers. Would be physical mission givers. That's something that we're going to be working towards very soon, with Battaglia being the first one coming back in the verse. And just to be clear, we'll be bringing all the mission givers eventually back, and we want them to be an integral part of the verse and the story that players go and enjoy.
Ça c'est pas con parce que ça a été une énorme connerie de les retirer du jeu, je pense.
And as we mentioned last year, We want to have
Même si c'était à l'époque pour le plan d'un jeu un peu différent de ce que c'est devenu aujourd'hui.
You know, to have cinematic stories in the game, and that is what we're going to be pushing towards. Everything we do, every decision we make is through the lens of moving us closer to 1.0. It might sometimes be difficult to see why those decisions have been made at the time they've been made, but rest assured that Star Citizen 1.0 is still our North Star. That's what we're still aiming towards, and that's what we're going to be moving forward with every patch next year as well.
I'm remembering when mission givers were first introduced, they sometimes became a bottleneck. Is there a role in instancing, which we learned about earlier today? Is there a role in instancing in that, in helping with mission givers?
Yes, partially. It will be one mechanism that will allow us to have players go to their own individual area of the verse, have that conversation, and then go and continue on.
Ça va permettre de créer des espèces de, si je comprends bien, des questlines différentes et cette fois-ci liées à des endroits plutôt qu'une sorte de quête principale qui nous emmène à droite à gauche comme on a eu cette année. On va vraiment avoir des entre guillemets quêtes secondaires liées à des endroits et à des personnes précises.
For the last 10 years now, we've been building this giant, seamless, persistent universe where everybody can come in and play together. And it would be easy to have a first instinct reaction to the idea of instancing and say that's antithetical to everything that Star Citizen is. But you mentioned last year these 3 pillars of building Star Citizen in the PU, and I want to, you said nothing changed, but I want to ask you about this specifically. What are those 3 pillars again? And how does instancing fit within the greater design of Star Citizen?
So the 3 pillars I mentioned last year were open world. That's just like the missions you love today. You can go and play, there's other players there, and you can go and enjoy that together. Then we have instancing, which I'll talk about more, but similar to municipal works that we've talked about previously. And then the 3rd pillar was dynamic content, which would be content that's generated by the activities of the players. And I think it's very easy to become myopic around one specific thing when we're talking about it a lot, when it's the next stage of our development. And I think you could reverse it. If we'd have made a game that was all instance, and then I'd come on camera and said, hey guys, we're going to start doing it open world, it would be like, oh, is the game changing? Are we doing open world now? Is open world the new,
Parle de Warframe, je reconnais.
You know, North Star that's going to take us this way? And it's not. It's just one more tool that's going to allow us to offer different and dynamic experiences for players to go and engage in. Now, when I talk about instancing isn't always what you'd imagine as a solo instance experience where it's only just you. We're going to have several different versions of instances. Some are going to be closed instances, which will be like the new player experience. We'll be able for you to go in by yourself, for us to teach you the ropes in a safe environment so that you can understand how to play the complex game that we've made. But we'll also have open instances like a cantina or a bar where we might say, hey, we only want 50 people to come in here because
j'ai des flashbacks de 2018 là au secours.
And you would just walk in and it would be seamless. You wouldn't know that there was an instance, it's not going to get a loading screen. You would just seamlessly walk into that location. It would be full of other players and NPCs and you can go and enjoy the content. And that's, I think, something that instancing is going to provide us. It's going to give us a tool to offer different dynamic content or curated content, as I'd say. It allows us to create experiences that are different to the open world experiences that we've already made. And it's not to say that we won't continue our open world development or only do instance content.
Comme j'ai dit l'année dernière de toute façon à ce sujet-là, mais tant que la partie instancing est faite de manière transparente, quasiment invisible pour le joueur, et que ça s'intègre bien dans le reste du jeu, je pense que c'est vraiment une bonne chose de faire ça. Ouais.
All right, so we've hit a lot of the bigger topics, the feature work, engineering, and FPS crafting coming to tech preview soon, stuff like this. We've talked about instancing and how that's going to work within the universe. But I want to ask you this one last big one. It's very easy to say Star Citizen is this kind of game and that kind of game. Those of us who spend our days making it know better. It's an everything game. It's everything we can make it game. It just is.
Est-ce que le dernier segment qui reste après, c'est le segment sur l'engineering? C'est le dernier truc qui manque en fait. Ça devait sortir
What more can you tell us about spaceship gameplay in the future? What can you give
rapidement
us? What can you
de ce
tee
qu'on
up
nous a
for
dit
us to
récemment.
look forward to for those of us who are really into Star Citizen for the spaceship?
Je reçois des notifs des
Our
devs du jeu qui
intention's
sont en train
going
de tweeter
forward to make
Square.
sure that every ship or ship archetype that you acquire has a role and has content that you can go and enjoy in the universe. For example, right now I know that we're working on more robust mining missions, more robust salvage missions. We're going to be working on refueling missions. And we want to make sure that each and every one of the ship has a purpose and has a reason to exist
Well,
in
là
the
il
game.
bullshit
That's
là.
from the smallest
Tous les vaisseaux auront un rôle. C'est la preuve, on en a nerfé un juste pour en vendre un autre qui est plus puissant. C'est bien la preuve que non, ça marche pas comme ça.
Absolutely aware of. We want to make sure that we're building that spectrum of content to allow players to go and engage in. And I think 2026 is going to be a very good year for Star Citizen. And I think there's going to be something that's very interesting and something that a lot of people have been waiting for. But rather than me spoil it, I'll let Ian and the team go into the details on that.
Get a twinkle in his eye. Ian, take it away.
Il va parler de l'engineering. Hein. Je vais devenir fou sinon.
So the persistent universe has existed for over 10 years now. During that time, we've created lots of gameplay systems, we've added hundreds of locations, we've added lots of mission activities for different purposes. Combat, cargo, mining, salvaging. But for
C'est quoi ce titre? Oui, ça veut tout et rien dire en même temps. C'est un jeu avec des vaisseaux, merci.
In 2026, this changes. We're going to be delivering a spaceship focused activity space which incentivizes the use of different gameplay roles. These are going to be scenarios where you're going to have to plan and strategize and create operational tactics to overcome your objective. So what you're going to see is very early. It's early in the pipeline process and it's going to come online about mid next year. But we're really excited about the content we're creating. So we want to share with you a super early look at what we're building in a space we're calling Tactical Strike Groups.
Il a dit que c'était very early.
The People's Alliance are still trying to get to the bottom of what this new faction is really doing in the Nix system.
They've sent a capital ship to check out a station and run into more than they can take care of themselves.
Unfortunately, that team came under attack and members of their groups were taken hostage. Now they've reached out to Intersec, who've reached out to you to help recover the pilot. Of course, it's unwise to do this alone, so you'll need to put a team together to attack the station.
C'est de la capture de station ou des trucs comme ça? Du gameplay pour 30 personnes? Des raids?
You will see at the middle, you will have this big energy core. Everything here has a purpose. It's not just for the show, just something nice to see.
You'll see a People's Alliance owned Idris that's just on the outside, and it's going to be getting harassed by this unknown faction that you have met before.
So your first objective here is to clear out the ships. There'll be waves of these ships, so this is what you want, your light or your medium or your heavy fighters, whichever playstyle you prefer.
C'est du gameplay plutôt sur des groupes de joueurs.
So while one part of your group is dealing with the fighters, now it's time to actually assault the station.
La question c'est est-ce qu'une petite escouade suffit? Ils veulent vraiment faire un truc comme les raids d'en haut, etc.
Somehow they've incorporated Vanduul capital ship killing turrets. These turrets ignore small fighters and they have the firepower to destroy even the biggest capital ships.
Putain.
Your Polaris and your Idris, if you get it close, it will get shredded. The idea of these is so we can sort of make it so we can mix up that ship combat and not everyone can just bring the biggest ship and win just because they have the biggest ship.
You have to send out your best pilots to
navigate the superstructure and take down anything that may damage your bigger ships. So at this point you're thinking, destroy the turrets, but it's not that easy. This turret has shields that you've never seen before. It won't take any kind of damage. Your missiles won't do anything. Your lasers won't do anything. Your
C'est
ballistics
comme le
won't
truc
do anything to them. But like everything, they do have a
de ce qu'ils veulent faire sur,
you have
sur Pyro
to add
Alterne.
power to their shields. To do that, that actually brings you to your first objective.
Ok, donc t'as une équipe qui est obligée d'aller à pied à l'intérieur pour désactiver les trucs. Okay.
So the exterior has a number of power relays that are holding the doors closed so that you can't get in.
You have to find
Ça marche, Riley.
You have to
Merci
target
d'être
them,
passé.
and
Bonne
you
nuit.
have to destroy them. But it may not be as easy as it seems.
Here's our first wrinkle. The power relays have their own shields that are resistant to energy-based attacks.
We know how much you like using laser repeaters, but so do these guys.
Capital ship can't get close enough because of the turrets.
So ships with explosive or ballistic ordnance will be needed here. That's torpedo ships like your Retaliator or Gladiator, or even another fighter with ballistics loadout.
Le retour de l'utilité du Retaliator.
Once the power relays have been taken down, the station opens up.
And this is where things get really cool.
Now it's time for you to fly your ship inside the station.
Ah.
You, in your ship,
C'est
fly into the superstructure
Star Wars
of the
4.
station.
How cool is that?
I feel like this is a proud dad moment. Thank you, Jared.
We're just gonna call it what it is. It's a trench run.
Allez. Luke, la force est avec toi.
So as you enter the structure, you'll see cooling units along the sides that you'll need to take out. There's 3 arms to the station that have these trenches.
T'as intérêt d'avoir des bons pilotes dans ton équipe, hein, putain. Mais c'est littéralement Star Wars.
Do it multiple times, or you need to bring friends.
At this point, the core is still protected, so these are essentially strafing runs.
There are objects to avoid. You're going to have to be able to dodge. You're going to have to move quickly. You need an agile ship.
Because the shield
Ça a l'air très à l'étroit.
Is emitting lots of distortion damage.
So once the cooling units
Putain, ça fait des dégâts de distorsion, mais c'est impossible en fait.
Which means that you can attack it from the inside and also from exhaust ports on the outside of the station. This core is armored and just takes a whole lot of damage. Once the power core goes down, the turrets come down, and then the capital ships can get closer. Why is that important? Because during all of this, you spend a lot of ammo, munitions, and ballistics, and you're going to want to top up.
This is where we're going to get our new feature in. Ship hangar refueling and rearming.
Quoi?
You're going to be able to land in the hangar of select ships and be able to use the same interface as you are right now at stations to refuel and rearm.
It's specifically
Ah,
for
ça
ships like
c'est une
Idris
super nouvelle.
and other ships that are designed to have other ships land inside them.
Of course, it'll be more than just those 2 ships, and you'll find out more once we get closer to release. But this is a really important feature.
Réarmer, refuel, réparer depuis les vaisseaux capitaux. Enfin.
Bringing your own Idris.
Enfin, putain.
Alliance has a Idris there that can provide a safe port in a storm, allow you to set back up and head back out.
And it's a good thing that you've rearmed and refueled too, because now another group of ships is coming to attack the People's Alliance Idris.
Par contre, t'as intérêt, ouais, je sais pas combien tu fais pour... Parce qu'il faut être en communication tout le temps. Merci Twitch de planter à ce moment-là, évidemment. Ça va revenir dans 5 secondes. Merci. Il faut être tous connectés, tous sur Discord, mais il faut combien de joueurs parce que... Après, pour l'instant, c'est... Ok, j'allais dire c'est que dans des vaisseaux, donc ça va, mais non. Okay. Il faut une équipe au sol quand même, ok.
opened the doors and that person's taken off, you've just got to make sure they get to safety.
Avec le menu social, pas besoin de Discord. Aïe 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 aïe. Ça remue le couteau dans la plaie. Il sera disponible dans l'année à venir. Oui, oui, bien sûr.
So up until this point, it's just been you versus the
Aïe
enemies
aïe
in the
aïe.
station. But the enemies in the station have their own enemies.
The Van Duel neighbors who really don't like these guys for some reason will come in and
Oh,
wreak
putain.
havoc on everything.
And they're not going to discriminate between you and the station. They're out for blood.
Donc grosse bataille spatiale.
When you
Il faut des vaisseaux
avert the
capitaux,
Van Duel
il
by
faut
destroying the power
des
core,
petits
the
chasseurs.
station's now vulnerable.
Et il faut
You're
une
on
équipe
a
au
time
sol.
limit. Van Duel are coming, they're going to come hard, they're going to keep coming.
Est-ce que
You're
10 joueurs c'est
gonna run
suffisant
out
pour
of
faire ça? On est plus sur le même jeu là. Alors attends. Le temps que ce soit in-game et que ce soit fonctionnel, c'est pas tout de suite. Ah putain, on va se retrouver contre les vaisseaux capitaux Vandul. Excellent. Ça peut être stylé comme fight en vrai.
Tactical strike groups. I'm personally so invested in this. So throughout 2025,
Mais non, aucune chance que ça sorte en 2026 hein, par contre.
Some of it was very focused on FPS combat. So personally, driving a more
J'y crois
vehicle-based
pas.
experience was very important to me.
Et je
This is a
vois à quoi ça peut
defining
servir pour
statement that I
leur
wanna do
objectif
in
long terme.
2026. We're a spaceship game. There are prized possessions. To the
Une chance, il devrait parer les ascenseurs avant. Exactement. Le Transit V2 n'est toujours pas sorti pour rappel. La musique est pétée, c'est Twitch, je rappelle. Twitch qui défonce le son. Je suis vraiment le 8. Non, c'est la vérité. C'est pour ça, ils essayent de monter la hype, mais c'est logique. Comme l'année dernière quand ils ont présenté les affrontements des gens qui vont construire des stations spatiales, etc. C'est si loin dans le futur que... Clairement, il n'y avait aucune raison de le mettre sinon pour faire monter la hype l'année dernière, quoi. Et on arrive au bout.
Okay.
Putain.
Why do you still have the puppet? John, come home. All right, so tactical strike groups. You know, it's been a long road for the last 10 years. The PU's been around. We've done lots to build stuff for mining ships and for salvage ships. And as Rich said, we're
Et pareil, c'est hyper dépendant de l'état de santé des serveurs. Parce que si t'arrives... Oh putain, c'est Erin. Erin Roberts, mais putain. What the fuck? Il est vivant. Le frère du fondateur. Parce que sur des serveurs déglingués, est-ce que 2 personnes sont capables de faire le contenu parce que les vaisseaux sont tous à l'arrêt et sont incapables de bouger? Probablement. Donc c'est un peu chiant, il va falloir régler les serveurs avant. Une note sur ces Citizencon. Attends qu'on arrive au bout. attends que ce soit vraiment fini. Mais c'était déjà beaucoup plus à échelle réelle. T'attends le One More Thing. Je pense pas qu'il y a un truc... tu crois qu'ils vont montrer un dernier truc?
Of course, we're not going to spoil everything that's currently in progress, and many features we haven't discussed today are in active development, like base building, social, and trade tools that are very much a priority. These, along with bringing the final polished features
very
of
much
42
a
into
priority.
the system, will make next year the most exciting yet for Star Citizen. Finally,
merci Twitch.
I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to everyone at CIG for working so tirelessly and with so much passion.
Obligé, il y aura un happening à la fin, putain. Pas sûr.
Also as we continue. And of course, to all of you for making all this possible with your support.
Qu'est-ce qu'il pourrait faire? Montrer le Perseus
and the
peut-être,
team
un truc comme ça.
appreciate every day.
Je pense qu'il le
We
garde
are
pour
very
le
lucky to be allowed the time
l'IAE
and
le
money
mois
to build
prochain.
the game of all of our dreams. Something
Non, non, la
that
dernière
is only
séquence
more
c'était
apparent
ouf,
as
mais
the video game
c'est
becomes more modern.
complètement irréaliste
We are
quoi.
one of the few large independents left standing, and there is no way we would be allowed to dream as big as we are on an original game and take the time to achieve that dream if we were part or funded by any of the few remaining mega game companies. So thank you, and I look forward to seeing you all in the verse.
The few remaining mega game companies. Oh là là. Il a dit ça. Et bien, on voilà arrivé au bout. See you in the shops. On va aller faire ça, on va aller regarder le prix des vaisseaux. Mais on peut essayer de les deviner avant, hein, bien sûr. Parce que ça va être hyper cher comme d'habitude. Je sais pas s'ils ont... Quoi ? Toujours de la musique, très bizarre. Ah, il vient de couper. Enfin. Ok. Tu veux que je donne une note vite fait quand même? Très simple. Le fait que c'était beaucoup plus à échelle restreinte. Vous montrer donc les, voilà, les 6 à 1 année, les 6 prochains mois à 1 année à venir. C'est probablement mieux de faire comme ça plutôt que de faire, je repense à 2021. Non, 2021 il n'y en avait pas. 2022 où c'était ah, on est en train de travailler sur ça, ça, ça. Et encore aujourd'hui, aucun de ces éléments-là n'est dans le jeu. Un générique, bonjour. 2023 où c'était une répétition de la même chose en mode ouais ouais on est en train de finir le deuxième système Pyro, c'est pour bientôt, c'est pour bientôt. 2024 qui est oui oui on est encore en train de travailler dessus, vous inquiétez pas, et qui est allé hyper jusqu'à toutes les fonctionnalités qu'ils veulent à la release dans combien de milliers d'années, je sais pas, peut-être que je pense que c'est mieux d'avoir quelque chose qui est comme ça, plus restreint, plus petit. Évidemment, ça va driver moins de hype et ça va forcément avoir un impact sur les ventes qui vont faire la suite, mais en vrai, c'est mieux pour le jeu de manière générale. Bon, on va voir le prix des vaisseaux. Ils sont à combien les paris? Alors, le Paladin, il est à plus de 200 balles. L'espèce de Cutlass, le prix du Cutlass, c'est quoi? C'est 90 ou c'est... C'est quoi le prix du Cutlass? Je me souviens. Et le Stinger, ça c'est une vraie question. Donc on a le Stinger. On peut les ouvrir comme ça? On va les faire un par un, c'est pas grave. Stinger, Paladin. Oui, le Cutlass machin. Qu'est-ce qu'ils ont? C'est tout, ok. Alors, le Stinger. Chasseur lourd. Moi je parie sur 180 balles. Il est très joli. On l'a vu suffisamment en détail. Il y a des skins avec. 280? Ah, tu penses à la taxe alien. Tu as peut-être raison. Parce que je sais plus le prix actuel des deux, du Blade et l'autre. C'est peut-être plus près de toi, t'as raison. Eh ben non, c'est encore plus cher. Oh putain, 300 balles le chasseur. Oh putain. Ils ont bon dos les vaisseaux aliens, hein. C'est la fameuse taxe alien. T'étais pas loin, je t'accorde le point, non clairement, bien joué. Mais du coup, c'est le plus cher des trois. Parce que le paladin, il sera jamais à ce prix-là. Si. Je pense que le paladin, il est moins cher. Mais je pense qu'il est quand même à plus de 250 balles. Parce que là, c'est un vaisseau multi-crew quand même. C'est du combat, mais ça reste un gunship. Donc, donc on l'a dit, hein, il y a un pilote, un copilote et deux gunners. Donc, théoriquement, c'est un vaisseau fait pour 4 personnes. 450. Je suis si mauvais à ce jeu, tu penses? Il y a un plus grand écart, mais t'es toujours plus proche. 250, c'était pas possible là. Putain. Donc il est plus cher que le Stinger, hein, c'est... Pas de beaucoup, mais... Pourtant il n'y a pas de taxe alien hein, sur celui-là. Quand même. Hein. Surtout que c'est un châssis qu'on a déjà vu avec le Asgard qu'ils ont fait cette année. Et la Valkyrie qui a un certain âge maintenant. C'est fou. Et celui-là, forcément, c'est le moins cher des trois. Le... Ce truc-là. Le Cutlass, il est vraiment pas cher. Je crois qu'il est à 100... Il y a des variantes qui sont à plus de 100 balles. 145 tu dis? Un crédit à la conso pour avoir des vaisseaux. Ah oui, je dois quand même mettre le warning, je le précise. Parce que nous avons des nouveaux avec nous aujourd'hui. Il ne faut pas acheter de vaisseaux sur ce fucking store. Euh, tous les vaisseaux sont disponibles à l'achat en jeu. Voilà. Pour de l'argent in-game. Tu peux farmer in-game pour acheter les vaisseaux. Voilà. Je le place là. Mais il y a énormément de gens qui passent quand même par le store à chaque fois. Eh bien, nous avons un quasi perfect. Bien joué. Très très fort. Très très fort. Et du coup, ils l'ont appelé le Shiv. Ok. Et bien, du coup, vu que ces trois-là, ils sortent avec la mise à jour qui arrive, je vais pouvoir les mettre à jour l'Excel. Euh, je précise, je vais vous flashbang parce que j'ouvre le Excel qui est blanc. Donc attention, il va y avoir une flash. Merci, maintenant que j'ai votre attention. Alors, nous avons dit, parmi les vaisseaux qui viennent d'être présentés et qui sortent dans le jeu, donc, nous avons en combat le Paladin. Tu vas griller mon écran, désolé. Si, je sais pas s'il y a un mode sombre sur c'est quoi, c'est Drive Excel, mais c'est pas grave. Le Paladin du coup sort. Là j'avais déjà le lien parce qu'il existait déjà. On a dit chez Esperia. Euh, je l'ai mis dans Alien. On a notre premier chasseur lourd ici. Qui est Stinger. J'irai rajouter les liens plus tard, c'est pas grave. Les aliens, c'est sûr qu'il va y avoir des trucs entre les deux. Hein. C'est sûr à 100%. Ils vont vouloir faire des trucs de fou. Euh, Typiquement, on a vu à la toute fin, on a deviné un vaisseau capital Vandoul, donc c'est sûr qu'il va y avoir un truc ici. Le Stinger qui va arriver in-game. Et le dernier, on a dit qu'il s'appelle le Shiv. Mais c'est par Grey Market. Grey's Market, donc il faut vraiment... Là, on est vraiment sur un nouveau constructeur. Je le mets en combat. On est d'accord, c'est full vaisseau combat, ça, c'est pas fait pour autre chose. Hein. J'ai pas l'impression. Le vendre comment? Battle Proven Part. Ah oui putain, parce qu'il y a les skins avec autour. Donc je suis obligé de créer une catégorie spécifique pour ça. J'aurais dû prévenir quand je suis revenu sur cette page, désolé. Ajouter Grey's Market. Et je le mets au même niveau que le Cutlass du coup. que j'ai le cutlass sur l'autre page, ça va être. Parce qu'en fait, j'ai coupé ça en combat civil. Et du coup, je dois avoir le cutlass ici dans les cargos médium. Je le mets en combat médium. Shiv. Un point d'interrogation et j'irai vérifier les infos dès qu'elles seront sur le wiki, etc. Ok. 3 nouveaux vaisseaux. Et donc, comme je le disais, moi je m'attendais à voir. Je ne vois pas. Le Perseus. Je m'attendais à ce qu'on voit le Perseus parce qu'il est quasiment terminé. Et je pense que ce sera du coup pour l'IAE, donc l'événement qui a lieu le mois prochain. Parce qu'on sait qu'il y a pas mal de vaisseaux qui sont terminés dans la pipeline actuellement et qui vont vouloir sortir à ce moment-là. Et souvent, ce qu'ils font, c'est qu'il y a un petit, un moyen et un gros. Et donc, probablement, le Perseus, c'est le gros qui sortira à ce moment-là. C'est aussi, ils nous ont on a vu dans les infos des derniers rapports des développeurs que le Kraken a commencé à être travaillé. L'Ironclad est plus très loin. Le Pioneer, il bosse dessus depuis quasi un an maintenant, mais je pense qu'on va pas le voir tout de suite parce qu'il est vraiment gigantesque. C'est l'imprimante 3D qui permet de construire des bases. Et ici, je viens de voir, mais ceux-là, ils sont sortis. Ça, c'est bon aussi. J'avais pas mis à jour, mais ils sont sortis au dernier patch. Et voilà, je crois que je suis à jour après. Ok. Euh, Ça, c'est fait. Je vais fermer même. Tac. Et B. Ah bah, on aura appris pas mal de trucs quand même au final sur ce qu'ils comptent faire. Ils ont fait un récap? Mettre en avant évidemment les 3 vaisseaux. Et tous les packs à acheter, évidemment. Score. Non, ok, il n'y a pas de vrai récap. C'est pas grave. Pour ceux. En vrai, moi je vais vous laisser. J'ai toujours pas mangé. Je vais déjà vous remercier d'avoir suivi ce stream. Et du coup, je rappelle, le prochain event, en fait, comme je l'avais dit, je fais plus trop, je ne stream plus trop de jeux, etc. à droite à gauche. Et je vais me concentrer sur les events, parce que j'avance sur pas mal de projets perso à côté de ça. Et le prochain event où on pourra se retrouver, je sors mon agenda pour donner la date exacte, mais c'est le 11 décembre. Et ce sera pour les Game Awards présentés par Jeff Keighley. Donc, où on aura donc des news de tous les jeux qui sont censés sortir l'année prochaine. Et donc le classement aussi, enfin vous pouvez voter, etc. comme d'habitude. Et voilà, c'est ça qui va se passer, il va y avoir la bataille des GOTY, sachant que cette année on a plusieurs prétendants au titre entre plus récent ou plus ancien, Hades 2, Hollow Knight Silksong, on a Death Stranding 2, Clair Obscur. Il y a un bon line-up qui se prépare cette année. Et du coup voilà, 11 décembre, je crois qu'il y a une heure, je crois que c'est à 20h, mais on aura probablement plus d'infos quand on sera plus près de l'événement, évidemment. Sur ce, moi je vais les manger. Je vous souhaite. On peut voter là? Non, ce sera que les semaines avant. Les semaines avant l'événement, donc en décembre. Je vous souhaite une bonne soirée. Et je vous dis à la prochaine. Allez, ciao!
Thank you.